at this club. And that's good. That's a good sign for the next season.
Liam Delap's also impressed in the US in his first few games for Chelsea. And Ashley Cole tells us Delap's got all the tools to get to the next level, but he's got some advice. Not for Liam, for you.
In this day and age, we're a little bit harsh on the younger players. I think they need time. They need time to grow, and they don't need to be judged. I think it will take time for him to develop. It's around running, but you know, I think we have to be realistic.
And as Sports Bar took over breakfast, Noel Gallagher set J&J a quiz to win tickets to see Oasis this summer.
The classic Oasis lineup, which is Alan White, I'm sure you know, Paul McGuigan, Bonehead, me and our kid. Honestly. What was the average shoe size?
It's so good. If you're 5'8", you ain't, you know, you're not gonna have massive feet, are you?
Hey.
You're not gonna have massive feet.
Hey.
Let's be honest.
I know what I mean. What have you heard?
Find out the answer from breakfast's full interview with Noel Gallagher on the talkSPORT YouTube channel.
This is Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs with you through until 4 here on talkSPORT. Where this afternoon, Andy, please tell us what's coming up.
I love the fact that we both warm up clearing our throats.
Yeah, that's right. It's a bit like a bar show rehearsal.
Coming up over the next 3 hours.
Get it out now rather than on the show. That's the way to do it.
I do it on the show. Ex-Manchester City defender Danny Mills gives us his take on their statement performance against Juventus. We'll build up to a big night for England's under-21s in the Euros tomorrow, and we'll test the strength of today's big transfer rumours.
We'll also examine the small print in Cristiano's new Al Nassr contract. We'll ask for your recollections of where the ball finally came to rest. And 15 years on, Stan Collymore relives that Frank Lampard goal line call that changed football forever. He was in the commentary box with Sags, and we'll play that infamous bit of commentary. It's goal! It's goal! Sags completely lost it, didn't he?
I thought it was the AI NASA contract, but
yes.
Never mind. There's all this plus the clips of the week. And Shooter McGavin rates Travis Kelce's acting chops in Todd Macklin's American Sport Roundup.
Rather annoyingly, apart from being a very good footballer and podcaster, Travis Kelce apparently is a good actor as well.
Oh, he's got it all.
He's got a lot, hasn't he?
Not jealous or anything.
Todd Macklin joins us to chat about that, amongst other things, a little bit later on. But it is, what is it? It's 4 minutes past 1. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Andy.
Yes, I start with the bombshell news. Anna Wintour is to leave Vogue after 37 years.
I'm surprised we didn't go big on that today on the station.
No.
Hello, lads. Great show. Just want to say all the best to Anna. Done a terrific job. I had her in a cab a few times. She's a lovely lady. And I'm going to miss that.
Big Charlton fan.
Big, often you see her down the valley in those dark glasses. He used to say, Anna, it's a night game, love. Just take your glasses off. And she said, I can't. It's me look. I mean, she missed half the goals.
Well, I can reveal exclusively she's going to the Angling Times.
Is he really?
The Devil Wore Corder. Now, that's one for all your fans of Fisherman's Blues.
Oh, come on. Let's have your fishing fashion crossovers. That really will test on a Friday. I mean, they think they've got it easy. The fishing... So we look... The Devil Wore Corder. That's very good.
your fisherman's blues.
Imagine that, like you're just sort of wandering along the riverbank and all the blokes are all in their bivvies, are all in all their sort of like that kind of sub-army wear. And you just go along, you think, God, that smells like an expensive... But if Simon Jordan down here, and then there she is, dark glasses, night fishing, you call anything. I've not seen the float go up and down. Well, you wouldn't with those glasses on, would you? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what about that?
Marvellous news.
Now,
yes.
one of the things I want to talk to you about today, you've probably seen this. The Sun have got a hold of everything involved in Cristiano Ronaldo's new deal with Al Nassr. Let's run through it with you if you haven't had a chance to see it. This is what the deal's worth. £178 million a year. That's £3.4 million a week. I think, wasn't it 488 grand a day?
Oh, I think it's 788 grand.
788 grand. Was it that much? Okay, I can probably tell if I have a look at the back page of the Sun. Let's get this right, because I don't want Cristiano... we don't want to shortchange the man. 488k per day. That's what he's on. Sorry. Yeah, you're talking about too much.
Isn't he going to play till he's about 60 on this basis?
I think he is. 15% ownership of Al Nassr, worth 33 million quid. 24.5 million signing bonus, increasing to 38 million if he activates the second year of the contract. I mean, if it was me, I would.
I don't get where the value is in this for them. It's not like he's been there for 2 years.
Yeah.
He hasn't brought a lot of people to the league. It doesn't get worldwide coverage. Nobody really takes it seriously. You see a few clips of him scoring goals. All you think is, this is a pretty inferior standard of football. Isn't he marvellous the way he keeps going? But there's not much. What further benefits are they going to get? I know they've got unlimited money, but...
And the cachet of having someone like one of the two greats of the modern era there. Hey, let me carry on. I haven't finished yet.
No, I know.
This is the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, carry on.
£80,000 goal bonus increases by 20% in the second year.
God.
So, every little tap in, just square it to him. Yeah. I mean, if you're in a situation to score and you square it at Cristiano, he should give you 20 grand, shouldn't he?
Really.
If you're one of the lesser players. Because I'll take it they're not all on this money. £40,000 bonus per assist, again increasing by 20% in the second year. 8 million bonus if Al Nassr win the Saudi Pro League title, which they haven't done yet. 4 million bonus
Can
if
I
you
just say, what about the nurses?
What about
it? Is immoral.
4 million bonus if he wins the Saudi Pro League Golden Boot. 6.5 million bonus if Al Nassr qualify for the Asian Champions League and win it. I think they qualified last time, we got knocked out.
Yeah.
16 people working full time for him on the payroll. 3 drivers. Did you need 3 drivers? 4 housekeepers. 2 chefs, 3 gardeners.
More drivers than Rory McIlroy.
There we are.
It's ridiculous.
4 housekeepers, 2 chefs, 3 gardeners, and 4 security people. 4 million.
How many gardeners?
He's got 3 gardeners. How many gardeners?
How many gardeners?
I think we got the title for today's podcast, John. How many gardeners? 3 gardeners and 4 security people. 2 chefs, 2 soups. £4 million worth of private jet expenses covered by Al Nassr, right? £60 million worth of sponsorship deals promised by Al Nassr with the new Saudi companies and companies in the Asian market.
Ridiculous.
Now, there's
no wonder he doesn't want to retire.
We're interested in all
this. Do you
this.
want to go run a pub?
Yeah, start your own haulage business in Cleckheaton. You won't need to do that post football. I don't think. You won't be buying a greengrocers. So that'd be great, wouldn't it? Yeah, Mum, over it would be good, wouldn't it? £0.5 of mushy, Mum. Here we are. So where were we? This is all the top line stuff. This is all the stuff you can read. But what about? Let's get down in the weeds on. We want to look at the small print.
Oh yeah.
Of Cristiano's contract, because clearly he can ask for what he likes.
Obviously.
And I thought a springboard for this would be to play you a clip from the fine Woody Allen film from 1971 called Bananas.
A brilliant film.
Where Woody finds himself suddenly involved in a Latin American coup. He's kind of part of it to bring somebody to power in this coup. A guy called Esposito, who seems like a very reasonable man with reasonable demands. Until it gets to the point that he finds himself in power and when he can call the shots. So let's take you back to 1971. And this is what he says when he addresses his people for the first time having taken power.
Hear me. I am your new president. From this day on, the official language of San Marcos will be Swedish. Silence! In addition to that, all citizens citizens will be required to change their underwear every half hour. Underwear will be worn on the outside, so we can check.
Well, there we are. And I think if you were Cristiano Ronaldo and you went into the meeting and they gave you all this top-line stuff, and he suddenly said, this is all fine, but if I'm going to sign again for 2 years, the national language of Saudi Arabia from this point on will be Swedish. And underpants will be worn on the outside of the trousers.
Exactly.
So we can check. And I think they're worried, okay, we can do that. So the point is this. We're looking for the small print in Cristiano. I want you to dig that a little bit deeper. You've had a sight of it, and you know some of the things he can demand along with all this top-line stuff. So reveal it.
I want my own Lidl's with a middle aisle of bargains for me.
That's it.
Like he needs
his own middle aisle. But he has the first half hour in Saudi Lidl.
Honestly.
And he can go in there and
he
can buy himself like a canoe and some gardening gloves.
However mad the listeners come up with ideas, they won't seem that mad. I bet they could actually happen.
Yeah. So let us know. talksport.com/H&J. Text to 81089. Tweet to TSH&J. You can give us a call as well. 03717 223344. Get down in the weeds. Look at the small print in line of that bananas clip there. What will he be demanding in the contract? We'll bring you the best of those throughout the afternoon. But we're going to head to our news desk. TalkSport's Matt Hutchinson has a bit of breaking news. Matt.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Yeah, Brentford have appointed Keith Andrews as the club's new head coach. That's following Thomas Frank's departure to Tottenham, something we've been predicting here on talkSPORT for many days now. Keith Andrews will be known to many as a Premier League player. He also has been the set-piece coach at Brentford. He joined them last summer to work as part of Frank's backroom staff. He's previously been on the coaching staff with Sheffield United, MK Dons, the Republic of Ireland, and it's his first step into management, so we'll be interested to hear the reaction of Brentford fans. Thomas Frank, of course, doing such an outstanding job for many years, got the club in the top 10 of the Premier League last season, but Keith Andrews has now been appointed. A number of external candidates for the job, we're told, were considered. That was including Kieran McKenna at Ipswich and Francesco Farioli, who left Ajax last month. And obviously, while the decision to give Andrews the rein may be considered by many to be a gamble, Brentford, as we know, have done much research about this appointment. They like that level of continuity in keeping with the club. And just to confirm there, Keith Andrews, the former set-piece coach at Brentford, is now the new manager.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. Andy, you see a lot of Brentford.
Very concerned.
You've got a lot of Brentford mates.
Today, yeah. They've lost their manager, their best player, their captain, some of the backroom team, and they've appointed somebody that's pretty inexperienced. Now, Brentford have got a fantastic record of getting things right.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't back against them, but I am concerned. It could be a very difficult season.
Yeah, certainly is going to be a transitional season.
And I don't think all three that come up are going to go down. I think Leeds will survive for a start.
Right.
I do. So, there's going to be somebody that falls in there, and I hope it isn't Brentford. But they'll spend that money, and their record
of spending the money wisely is a good one. So look, Brentford fans, happy to hear from you. 03717 223344. Do you share Andy's concerns? He's not a fan of your club, but he goes to practically all the home games and sees a lot of the team. Talksport.com, text 81089, tweet TSH&J. Keith Andrews is the new gaffer.
Not according to the Chelsea website. It insists that I am a Brentford
fan.
They know it irritates me, so they do it all the time.
I suppose we don't know the backroom staff, but there was some talk with Damien Duff coming in. Maybe it'll work with him. I don't know if he will or not. I mean, he's been a gaffer under his own steam over in Ireland, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he's very prominent as set-piece coach. Yeah. He was always stepping out into the front of the dugout every time Brentford got a corner or anything like that.
I think he'll be right up there with Premier League managers with the best hair. Good hair. It's Goldstein-esque, isn't it?
It is. It's really thick.
I mean, Andy will be looking over his shoulder. He won't like it. Yeah. He's up at 4, of course, with Benty for Drive. We're going to be talking tennis next, though. Barry Cowan is going to join us for a chat. We've had the Wimbledon draw. I think there's 23 Brits in the first round draw. The most since 1984.
Yeah, it's definitely healthier. I mean, we've relied previously on Andy.
The only thing I would say, 1984, when we had 23 last, was not the dawning of a great era of British tennis, was it?
No.
So, anyway, Barry we'll look at some of the... Emma Raducanu's got a pretty toughish draw. And, well, I mean, it's, as you get into the the latter stages of the tournament, you're going to play against the big hitters. We'll see what's afoot for Jack Draper and Oliver Tarvett, the young lad who's squeezed his way in. And we'll be chatting about that with Barry Crown, and we may touch on Liverpool. I'm sure we will, as we always do with Barry, in a few moments' time. Don't forget to get in touch, to get in the weeds and give us all your suggestions for the minutiae of Cristiano Ronaldo's contract. talkSPORT.com, text 81089, tweet TSH and J. That's for Brentford fans too. 03717 223344. We're here with our good friends at Tool Station. Next stop, Tool Station. Hawksbee, Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. We have the first round draw for Wimbledon. Just before we chat to Barry Cowan about that, British tennis player, of course. Tennis maverick, former Wimbledon finalist Nick Kyrgios joined White and Jordan on talkSPORT yesterday. He told them why he would behave differently on the court to other players during his career.
Well, he's bang on, because sometimes, I look at, Novak, Nadal or Federer, like, how was I supposed to beat these guys in a fair and square, clean battle? It was never going to happen, so I had to figure out other ways, I've knocked over...
Although you did beat them.
I know, but I've knocked over Nadal's, water bottles. You know how he puts it, like I knocked it over before. I've was talking to myself every change of end against Federer, trying to get these guys maybe thinking something different. Because if I tried to go out there and be well behaved, I was never going to beat them. So I do try and bring them back to, I guess, my level, the human level, because these guys are gods.
So it's like sledging in tennis.
Well, it's not sledging, but it's just trying to do something different that they haven't experienced before. And maybe I needed a little bit more of that in the final of Wimbledon, but I tried to be too well behaved and I didn't win.
Interesting.
Really good stuff.
He's popping in to see us on Monday once Wimbledon gets underway. But joining us now, former British tennis player, Liverpool fan, Barry Cowan. Good afternoon, Barry.
Good afternoon. Yeah, it's always interesting listening to Kyrgios, and I don't think we should understate actually how smart a tennis player he actually is, and that's why he's been able to ruffle the feathers of the top guys in the past.
Is there anybody on the circuit like him now, would you say, Barry?
Oh yes, Corentin Moutet. He's a French guy. He's very, very spiky. We've seen everything from him before, including I remember I think it was during COVID times, and there was no crowd at Roland Garros, and I think he threw 2 of his rackets in the stands.
Really? But women's tennis has been a bit spiky recently, isn't it? And the one that said she said you smell badly. The other day was one that everybody hates you in the locker room.
Yeah.
It's all getting a bit personal.
Well, you know who that the woman was who Harry Dart accused of being smelly? It was Loat Boisson, who then went on to make the semi-finals of Roland Garros. What an amazing story that was. And then, of course, the incident last week with it was Sakari.
Yeah,
it was Sakari and Putin Saver.
So we've had the draw today, and as I was saying earlier on, I think 23 Brits in the first round, best since 1984, I understand, which is great. It'd be lovely to see some of them making it to the latter stages of the tournament, certainly the latter stages of the week. But Emma Raducanu has got a wild card against Mimi Zhu in the first game, but there's tougher games quite quickly ahead of her, aren't there?
Yeah, I think it's the shift this year actually from the All England Club, and I absolutely agree with it, is they've given all 8 wildcards to British players. I mean, there was a period 10 years ago, even less, that actually they felt they may be only giving 5 or 6 wildcards because they felt their rankings wasn't high enough. But, what's nice is we got 3 very good younger girl players. So, I mean, Mingji Zhu is one of them. Hannah Klugman, who made the final of the juniors at Roland Garros. So it's just a great opportunity for those players to be able to sort of see where their standards at. And I think for Raducanu, obviously she will be in the spotlight, but she's been dealt a really, really tough draw. I fully expect her to have no problems playing the British youngster first match, but the likelihood she will play Vondrousova second round. Now, Vondrousova, as we know, won Wimbledon a couple of years ago, and actually the last 8 Wimbledon champions we've had in the women's have all been different players. But she's been injured recently, but did win a big tournament a couple of weeks ago in Berlin. So maybe Vondrousova might be, in a prime position to have a good run the next couple of weeks. A tough draw for Raducanu.
Yeah, I feel for a bit. I mean, I've been critical of her getting too much too soon, but I have to say that she does seem to suffer a lot of injuries, a lot of difficult emotional moments. There is a player there, isn't there, though?
Absolutely. The talent is there, and I think you were talking about this week in Eastbourne, a few issues going on off the court. So we wish her well, that she can sort of get herself in the right headspace for Wimbledon. But I think this year, I certainly feel it, guys. There's less pressure, less expectation on her. Even though actually I think she's had a half decent year, but what is apparent is the way the women's game is going. It's so power dominated, and I look at the potential Wimbledon champions. I do see really someone who is going to be able to hit big aces. Obviously Sabalenka is one of those. Rybakina, a former Wimbledon champion. I see sort of those 2 as probably the big hitters.
On the men's side, Oliver Tarvett, a young lad who can't get any prize money because he's still a college player in the United States. He could play Alcaraz in the second round if he can come through his first round game.
This is a story. We in the media like stories like this. It's absolutely brilliant. So, I would say an average junior, And anyone who is an average junior, I would definitely advise them to go to American University. That's a shift, I think, that's happened in the last couple of years. Jacob Fernley is one of those that's had success. Cam Norrie before that has had a lot of success. And he's developed as a tennis player. He's developed as a person as well. And to be given the wild card and to qualify and to play as well as he has done. And we interviewed him after his first win, and I think at that time he was probably standing on about £25,000, and he said, "Well, I can't collect the prize money, so I need to be really inventive with my expenses." So now he's made the first round, he's going to have to be even more creative. So I think anyone that from the San Diego University might be flying over first class to support him.
I can't think of any other player who played one of the world's top players in a second round game at Wimbledon. Can you? Can't think of anybody at the moment, possibly. Oh, you against Pete Sampson.
Oh yes,
that'll be.
Yeah, that was 54 years ago, wasn't it?
You did well. You did well. I mean, well, blimey, that was a great calling card for you. That's the thing at Wimbledon in the world of British tennis. When it must have been nuts that sort of few days in and around that game, Barry, for you.
Yeah, and I think for British players, I've always subscribed to the theory. I mean, I'm not putting Murray in that category, and I'm not putting Raducanu in that category because, and also Jack Draper, because their expectations was certainly a lot higher than mine, obviously, because they're world-class players. But I think there's everything to gain. I don't see any pressure at all because, for me, pressure as a tennis player is when you're ranked 150 to 200 and you're looking at 5-6 week trip and you've already spent your money on your flights and you're looking at potentially losing £10,000 or $10,000 on a trip and you're playing for $1,000 or and sometimes I was only playing for $100. That's pressure. When you're playing in front of 10,000-15,000, that's ultimately what every tennis player should be striving for. So I absolutely loved Wimbledon, and I'm sure for Tarvik he will relish it, as will the other British players. Obviously, as you said, 23 in total.
We're going to mention Jack Draper. Djokovic in the quarterfinals, the way the draw goes. But there's going to be a lot of eyes on him. He's playing very well at the moment, isn't he, Barry?
He is. I wish they could do a redraw because he's got a very tough draw. And if he gets through his first round, which I don't think he'll have any problems, then it's Marin Cilic in the second round. We know what he's capable of, albeit he's 36 years of age. I still feel with his experience, having reached the final, of course, when he lost to Federer, I don't think you ever lose the ability to be able to, when you're a great grass court player, to be able to rise to the occasion. And you're talking about players that do it in the unconventional way. Bublik in the third round. And Bublik, who beat Draper at the French Open by drop-shotting him a lot, he won that big title in Halle a couple of weeks ago. So Bublik potentially awaits Draper in the third round. So it's actually a pretty tough draw for Draper. So I sort of see, I always find it interesting the way that the top half, bottom halves worked out. Alcaraz was my tip. After Queens, it is my tip with the draw because he's won 27 of the last 28. I think it's the top half that I think is really fascinating. Probably Djokovic would be the player I would lean towards making the final rather than Sinner.
Is Alcaraz going to play mixed doubles with Raducanu?
That's not in this tournament, is it? No, it's later on. Okay. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's the US Open. So the US Open, I don't know if you're aware, they've done something totally different this year. They've ripped up what usually happens in Grand Slams, where players will sign in for the mixed doubles, maybe on the Monday or Tuesday, and generally it's the doubles players and maybe the occasional singles player. Because do you remember Murray was meant to play with Raducanu last year?
Yeah.
And what they've done in the US Open, I think it's a great idea, actually. They've said, right, we're going to have it 2 days before the tournament starts. I think it might be the Thursday and the Friday before the US Open starts for proper. It's a 16 draw. And basically, they've attracted the best tennis players on the planet. So you've got some great partnerships. You've obviously got Alcaraz and Raducanu playing together. So you've got all the best singles players in the men's and women's. And I reckon it will be a big success. And it might be one of those that I think tournaments will follow suit in the future.
Excellent. Good to talk to you, Barry. All the best.
Barry.
Have a great weekend.
Take care. Barry Cowan there, former British tennis player. And
I love everything about Wimbledon except the tennis.
Well, we'll have regular updates from the tennis with Lisa O'Sullivan and the team from Monday. And Nick Kyrgios joining us for a chat on the show on Monday. But we're going to turn our attention to rugby. We're going to bring you the first of the Lions warm-up games down under tomorrow against Western Force. former England and Lions second row World Cup winner Ben Kay going to join us for a chat. It's part of our top team, bringing you the tour live and exclusive here on talkSPORT.
So Leicester have finally got rid of Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's left by mutual consent. Scott Minto's wondering where all this leaves the club with pre-season training starting next week.
There's no manager. The coaches are leaving. The players are either leaving or I think there's 8 who have only got 1 year left on their contracts. Who's going to want to come in with a potential points deduction hanging over them? Listen, I don't think they're going to do a Luton, but I certainly don't think they're going to be anywhere near, at this moment in time anyway, where they want to be, and that's chasing promotion again.
Over at the Club World Cup, Bernardo Silva says Man City's 5-2 trouncing of Juventus shows Pep's team can do it all again.
Obviously, it's just one game, but we're happy that the performance was the way it was, because it shows that we're improving, we're coming back to the levels and to the standards that we got people used to at this club. And that's good. That's a good sign for next season.
And as Sports Bar took over breakfast, Noel Gallagher set J&Jace a quiz to win tickets to see Oasis this summer.
The classic Oasis lineup, which is Alan White, I'm sure you know, Paul McGuigan, Bonehead, me and our kid. Honestly. What was the average shoe size?
Find out the answer from breakfast's full interview with Noel Gallagher on the talkSPORT YouTube channel.
Just before we look ahead to the Lions, should I say, in the first warm-up game, Billy the Bee's got in touch. Billy the Bee Grant, of course, when I'm on Brentford and England duty. Good afternoon, Billy.
Good afternoon. How you doing? I'm just sitting there by the river having a nice pint and just chilling out. Nice. And all the news is coming flooding in, and I'm not letting it affect me. I'm still chilled as it is.
That's good. Lovely.
Well, so what's your take?
You've got to have faith.
Keith Andrews, in case people have just joined us, Keith Andrews has got the gig. He's going to be the new manager. How are you feeling about that, Billy?
I'm pretty relaxed about it, to be honest with you. I'm not saying that I reflect all Brentford fans' views. I can understand how people get really nervous because he hasn't got any Premier League history. The fact that we've lost a very, very good manager, a very, very popular manager as well. Great tactician, lovely bloke. And, we want to sort of elevate ourselves, take ourselves to the next level. People thought, there's lots of people on the block we can go out there with. There's people available that have got a track record. And Keith Andrews hasn't got a track record in managing, so a lot of people are obviously very nervous. Look, I know, the thing about it is, like I said to you, I know nothing about Keith other than when he was on Sky. And he was a pundit. And I remember when he was a pundit on Sky because I used to do a lot of stuff with them on the EFL stuff with a lot of the fans. And I thought, actually, this guy kind of knows what he's talking about. And I thought, this is very interesting. But when he popped out at Brentford, I just thought, cool, blimey, he's gone from Sky to becoming a set-piece coach at Brentford, even though he did do quite a lot of coaching. Now, what's happened is that I know a lot of people saying, yeah, but he hasn't got any, he hasn't got any history. He's got no, all this kind of stuff that they're saying about him in particular. Brentford don't operate like that, and that's why I really like our club. What they do is that they kind of look at people, they look at players, and they look at them for who they are, rather than necessarily what their track record is. Football is a sport which is really, really it's resistant to change. Brentford thought they've been fighting against that for 10 years, and we start to do things differently because we haven't got a lot of money, so we've got to do things a lot differently. And people laughed at us when we started to kind of use inverted commas stats to identify players. It didn't mean that we were choosing them, but we identified players. We were laughed out of town because of doing that. Sort of 10 years later, they're doing that. Set-piece coaches, we've had them in for 10 years or so. People are laughing us out of town for doing things like that as well. People forget that Mark Warburton, who everyone loved as a manager, he was a banker. He was a banker, and then he became our sporting director, which he actually hated that role. And his job was to find us the next manager after one of our managers left. My mind's gone blank.
It's that pint on the river. Yeah, Billy, we've got to talk. We've got to talk rugby, but it's good to hear from you, and it's good to know you're confident. So thanks for joining us. All the best.
Fine. Keith will do the business. Honestly, it'll be okay.
There we are. He's confident enough there. And everybody's been saying something about Thomas Frank at Spurs. Oh, it's a big step up. Everybody has to make a step up at some point. Yeah. Every manager. So we'll see.
Oh, I don't have any doubt that Thomas Frank will be a success at Tottenham. I'm convinced.
Anyway, let's look ahead to Western Force versus the British and Irish Lions tomorrow. The first of the warm-up games down under after that defeat to Argentina in Dublin last Friday. Our next guest is part of our top team bringing you that game. It's live and exclusive on talkSPORT. It's the former England Lions second row World Cup winner Ben Kay. Hi, Ben.
Afternoon, fellas.
So, what's the sort of mindset around these games? We've got quite a lot of debutants. First time people are pulling on the shirt. We saw last week the kind of cohesion isn't there. You wouldn't expect it to be, or bringing all these players together. But they've had another week, so you'd probably expect to see it coming together a little bit more this week than we did last week.
Yeah, you would do. There's some different challenges this week. Obviously, jet lag will have played a factor, not necessarily in the game itself, but in terms of, their training sessions this week. And there'll be times where the players probably don't feel like going out and training, but it's the biggest pinnacle of your career moment. So that's the little personal battles that they have to deal with and show that resilience. And no one wants to be the new guy into the squad sort of whinging about going out training. So, look, there will still be some rustiness. There are new players coming together yet again. That's the whole point of the British and Irish Lions is it's a scratch side. And for the first few weeks, it'll always be that. But they will have learned off some of the things that happened to the team that played last Friday against Argentina, and they'll be a lot better for it. The line out was a real area of concern, and I'm sure they'll have addressed that. Some of the handling didn't quite work out. So having seen it go wrong the week before, it's a lot easier to put it right with those pictures to work off.
What are the opposition like? Western Force, who are they exactly?
Well, it's it's a good one first up, and I don't know whether sort of obviously these things are planned a long way out, but certainly they're the weakest of the provinces in Australia. They only won 4 games in the Super Rugby competition this season, and they haven't won a game since April. 5 losses on the bounce. So it's a good one to start when you're not quite fully up to speed in terms of your preparation and your jet lag and everything else. Having said that, they've got some good players, and you know, Nick White is a guy that'll know some of these guys very well, playing scrum half. He's captaining the side, and he's been quite vocal this week, saying that it's our job as the provinces and the clubs to soften up the Lions before they get to play the Wallabies. So they want to bruise the Lions and make their job as hard as possible in Australia, which is always the case when you go on a Lions trip, but maybe sort of in Australia it's never been as big a factor as when you go to New Zealand or South Africa. So expect there to be... Nick White's one of those players that, as a forward, you hated. He's gobby. He rolls around on the floor if anyone touches him. He's that nightmare player, but he's very good, and I'm sure he'll be a thorn in the side of the British and Irish Lions this week.
I mean, you were a very experienced player by the time you played for the Lions, but were there nerves the first time you pull on that famous red shirt?
I mean, apart from anything, you know, there's no pecking order with the Lions. Usually, when you enter an international setup, you've got an idea of where you sit, whereas at the moment, the guys, you know, Andy Farrell won't have shown his hand to the guys in terms of who he thinks is going to start in the tests. He'll be saying it's a completely level playing field. So, you know, every moment in training, if you make a mistake in training, you're thinking, oh, does that count against me? You know, if you're constantly trying to read into the selections, you know, or why have they picked, not necessarily why have they picked me in this game, but have they picked me with that guy over there because they think that we could play in a test team together, or is it the opposite? So it's quite challenging. And also you're working with new coaches. So coaches that know what you're good at international level and know your strengths and weaknesses, it's sort of a blank page for these guys. So you make that one mistake at something that you're very good at usually, and you're thinking, well, he doesn't know that I'm usually very good at that. So
finally, who are you looking forward to seeing most in action for the Lions tomorrow?
I've got to say Finn Russell, because you know for years there's been a thought about Finn Russell being this maverick player that is world class and can do things that no one else can do, but would make mistakes. I think he's shaken that tag now, and absolutely this is his time. We saw him in the Gallagher Premiership final, steering Bath to the win. But he plays with a smile on his face. He plays exciting rugby. He just looks like the person that's enjoying themselves the most. So for his first chance on this tour, and if he plays well, I think the rest of the team will play really well.
Brilliant. We'll look forward to it. Thank you, Ben.
Cheers, guys.
You'll hear from Ben Kay tomorrow. Coverage gets underway from 10 a.m, whilst every day this week over on talkSPORT 2, you can hear Lions Uncaged as we bring you everything you need to know from the Lions camp, including exclusive interviews, breaking news, and some of the behind-the-scenes stories that you won't be able to hear anywhere else. Don't forget, we'll also be bringing you live commentary of all 3 test matches, plus those warm-up games, and talkSPORT is the only place on national radio where you can follow all of the Lions' action. Now, Manchester City last night took on Juventus, and they put them to the sword, I think it's fair to say. Yep. It was a bit of a statement performance by that reshaped City side. City fans would have been delighted to see Rodri get an hour or so as well. So, yeah, they are. I mean, we've got them second week away. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
You don't want to be playing City at the start of the season.
Thomas Frank's got a good record against City.
Yeah.
And there you're going to see the difference between him and Ange, although Ange did get more pragmatic as it went on.
Yeah.
You know, Thomas is very pragmatic.
I mean, I think it's going to be a tough place to go early in the season because they do seem to have, we talked about cohesion there, but wow, those new players seem to have fitted right in.
We played them first up last season before they got injured and injuries, and then they smashed us. It could have been
we'll have a chat with Danny Mills, their former defender, in a few moments' time. We're here with Tool Station. Stay one step ahead, whatever the job. Next stop, Tool Station. Good afternoon, Paul Hawksbee, Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Clips of the week to come in the final hour. Andy mentioned earlier on that Anna Wintour, the legendary fashion editor of Vogue, had stepped down. Andy's got the nod that she's going to Angling Times. And you gave us, what was your fishing?
The Devil War Corder.
Devil War Corder one for the anglers out there.
It is.
Fraser in Thurso and Steve, the Taffy Mackham, both give us Hugo Bass. So they're kind of looking for more of these sort of fashion crossovers. We did have a few more of those. Where are they? I'm going to have to. Most of these are, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo. We gave you the broad brushstrokes of his incredible 500k a week. Was it 500k a day? Who knows? And of course, it was ridiculous, wasn't it? We ran through the whole thing. He's earned an absolute fortune, I think it's fair to say. And we're looking for the small print, some of the other things that are in there, the lesser known items apart from the money. And we asked you for a few of those. Most of them are Messi related. But other people have suggested that he's flown around Saudi by helicopter every time a penalty is awarded to any team in the league so he can take it. That's in the small print.
That's good.
Rose petals thrown at his feet even when he's playing, which he'll take some doing, has been suggested by Steve the Owl. Yeah, lots of Messi. Messi to be removed from all history books and mentions of his name. A weekly trolley dash in the Riyadh branch of Asda, says Dennis from Ashington. That would be nice. I think you'd enjoy that. Thousands of Eric Ten Hag garden gnomes to be put in his billion-acre garden, says Stuart in Ipswich. Oh, we're back. The crossover. Stella McCartney.
Very good.
Steve in Durham. Do you like that?
Yeah, I do like that,
Yeah, lots of messy ones. And as it's very hot, he gets the first lick of any newly opened ice lolly in the whole country. You can buy a lolly, but you can't lick it until Cristiano has. talkSPORT.skate moss. You like that one, dear?
Skate moss.
Peter in Manchester. Yeah. Is Anna Wintour sporting high eels?
Very good.
Like Goffey would say that, Matt, in Wars. Cosmopolitan. The other magazine she could go to.
Very good.
Josh in Birmingham. And, thanks for all of those. TalkSport.com, text 81089. The small print in Cristiano Ronaldo's amazing new contract in Saudi for Al Nassr. And, we're looking for some fashion crossovers this afternoon. Now, special guest, of course, on breakfast today with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy. It was rock and roll legend, big Manchester City fan, of course, Noel Gallagher was with the boys. Here's some of the best bits.
Today was gonna be the day, but they'll never throw it back to you.
What is an actual Wonderwall?
Oh my God. Come on, Jay.
What do you mean, come on?
Come on, mate.
Come on, Jay. It's like one of the most famous songs in the world.
I know it's famous, but...
What is it?
It's a wall, isn't it? No, earlier in the show, I don't know if you heard this, I asked O'Hara, who's his favourite, Noel or Liam? This is what he said.
I love Oasis as well.
You do love Oasis.
It's a wounda. It's like
who's your favourite, Noel or Liam? Who's your favourite?
Liam now.
Well, I've just texted Liam. Yeah, I was just like, Jamie O'Hara wants tickets for Wembley, and he's just said, "Who's Jamie O'Hara?"
Oh, this is a massive stitch up here, boys.
And I've got one last question.
Oh, here we go.
Who are you?
You're gonna be the one that saves me.
There you go. Yeah, they were on good form, the boys, this morning, weren't they?
They were, yeah. They're really good.
Yeah.
Definitely. Enjoyable.
So, Danny, we haven't got hold of Danny. We have a slight issue getting through to him. So, but we are going to hear from Pep, I think, in a few moments' time. It was some performance. They beat Juve 5-2, and there were some great goals in there. And some, as I said, Reiner set one up, didn't he? We also had Ait Nouri playing that really nice ball in for Doku to score. They seem to have dovetailed pretty quickly.
Absolutely. He can never hide his mood, Pep. You can always tell when he's happy about things.
Yeah, even when he's driving a cab in Rhodes, in that infamous lookalike the other day on the show.
It was so good, I had to show my wife, who doesn't really know who Pep Guardiola is. Right. I had to show her Pep Guardiola
first. And that one, yeah.
But it worked.
My wife's been getting in touch. She said, she's listening. She said, when you said earlier on you were chatting to Billy the Bee about Brentford, and then he said he was down on the river drinking, she thought it was the club mascot.
Billy the Bee.
What would that do to, she said, you've done dafter things on this show. What would that do to the kids if the kids were walking along the river and there's old Billy the Bee tanked up?
It wouldn't be tremendous.
It's not Billy the Bee. It's not the mascot. We'd like to point out.
Sir Matthew Vaughan, the film director.
Oh yeah.
Claudia Schiffer's hubby, as they call him.
Oh yeah.
Is in talks to invest in Brentford.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah. They've always had a bit of a showbiz following, haven't they?
But I love the way they described him. If Kingsman lay a cake and kick-ass director Sir Matthew, that's the name of the film.
Don't we call it kick-ass this time of the day, Andy? It's great, isn't it? It's become Lord
I
Charles.
thought it was something to do with the donkey. I did not see the film, Your Honour.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's thinking of investing, so there you go.
Good, okay. And
nobody's
feel
told
free.
him, nobody's told him half the team have
Feel
left.
free to make it a soft R, won't you?
Yeah.
When you next see him.
Well, yeah, definitely.
So we're going to hear from Pep. I think we are. This is what he had to say. Let's judge his mood. Then he's just going like a cat.
A bit of scratching,
like a cat with a cream. Here he is.
Is the most important today is the fact that we can do it again. I had the feeling that the players, it's my opinion, it's the players felt, I don't have to tell them, felt that in that way we can compete like it happened in the last decade. Like we make an incredible things.
It's not surprising. Last year was an anomaly, definitely. There were lots of reasons for it. I cannot see them being anything but challenging this year.
Yeah, and as we say, you can bring new players in and you can have a period of adaptation, but Marmoush having that half a season, he's looking really sharp now. And as we said, the new boys who've come in,
it's what they do.
Hit the ground running.
There's some good surplus players available. I mean, Chelsea have shown that from some of the players they picked up from the City Academy. But there's Grealish and
McAtee's going to be,
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
He's been pretty upfront about he's gonna cut the squad down to a manageable size. He's got too many good players. He doesn't necessarily want to do it, but he has no choice. But no, that certainly
it's always a difficult one, because what happens is you get injury. I mean, you get a lot of injuries, and then suddenly you can really do with these players, but they're not there. So but what can you do? You can't keep. It's harder to keep sort of 23, 24 players happy.
We're going to touch on transfers a little bit later on. Ben Jacobs keeps an eye on things in Saudi, so maybe he can give us his thoughts on that mega bumper new contract for Cristiano Ronaldo. And you're still sending in all the small print. Maybe Ronaldo could insist that the club employ Messi to clean his boots, as Steve, the London cabbie. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen, is it, really?
Who to clean his boots?
Messi.
Sorry,
Dave Messi.
I missed it.
Okay, that's right. Yeah.
Should say a word for sometime guest on this show and long-time member of the Bunburys, our cricket club, the celebrity cricket club that David English ran for so many years.
And a fixture at Lords. Whenever you looked at players disappearing or coming down the stairs at Lords, there'd be a bloke in the pavilion, and he was a portly man in the complete MCC,
the egg and bacon
colours, in the blazer, the hat,
tie, hat, handkerchief, socks.
Yes, the full Monty, quite a character.
John Fingers Fingleton, a great guy, and he sadly died this week. But he was always fun to be with, and he loved doctors. He used to have chats with
not the profession, the TV show,
TV series.
Whenever he got together with Andy's wife, they would go really in the weeds on doctors. They could have done it on. They could have done it on Pointless. The pair of them could have gone on together, I think. And,
they could.
Yeah, but poor old Fingers. I
did wonder, because I was looking at the pavilion in the World Test final, and I couldn't see him, and I did wonder where he was. And now I know he was in hospital. So very sad.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Also come out in the second hour, we will be chatting to Stan Collymore. Can you believe 15 years since that Frank Lampard moment against Germany, the ghost goal that changed football forever? It led to a rule change, and it led to goal line tech coming in. And Stan was there. He was alongside Mark Saggers. We'll play you that moment when Sags went into proper meltdown. Watching that game, commentating for talkSPORT, and we'll look at some of the other big stories of the day with Stan. And Harmy joins us for a chat. Joffre's back. We'll look at some of the other stories around the England squad heading into the second test at Edgbaston next week.
So Leicester have finally got rid of Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's left by mutual consent. Scott Minto's wondering where all this leaves the club with pre-season training starting next week.
There's no manager. The coaches are leaving. The players are either leaving or I think there's 8 who have only got 1 year left on their contracts. Who's going to want to come in with a potential points deduction hanging over them? Listen, I don't think they're going to do a Luton, but I certainly don't think they're going to be anywhere near, at this moment in time anyway, where they want to be, and that's chasing promotion again.
Over at the Club World Cup, Bernardo Silva says Man City's 5-2 trouncing of Juventus shows Pep's team can do it all again.
Obviously, it's just one game, but we're happy that the performance was the way it was, because it shows that we're improving, we're coming back to the levels and to the standards that we got people used to at this club. And that's good. That's a good sign for next season.
Liam Delap's also impressed in the US in his first few games for Chelsea. And Ashley Cole tells us Delap's got all the tools to get to the next level, but he's got some advice. Not for Liam, for you.
In this day and age, we're a little bit harsh on the younger players. I think they need time. They need time to grow, and they don't need to be judged. I think it will take time for him to develop. It will take time for him to adapt to the way Chelsea want to play. Everyone, of course, wants these young players that go into new environments and new clubs to hit the ground running. But, you know, I think we have to be realistic.
And as Sports Bar took over breakfast, Noel Gallagher set J&J a quiz to win tickets to see Oasis this summer.
The classic Oasis lineup, which is Alan White, I'm sure you know, Paul McGuigan, Bonehead, me and our kid. Honestly. What was the average shoe size?
It's so good. If you're 5'8", you're not going to have massive feet, are you?
Hey.
You're not going to have massive feet.
Hey.
Let's be honest.
Hang on a minute. What have you heard?
Find out the answer from Breakfast's full interview with Noel Gallagher on the talkSPORT YouTube channel.
Afternoon, Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. We're in the second hour of the show. Ben Jacobs joins us to look at some of the transfer stories of the day, and as he keeps a very close eye on what goes on Saudi, to drill down into Cristiano's bumper new 2-year extension to his contract at now Al Nassr. Yeah, 15 years ago today, we were all screaming at the tally. It's a goal! What's wrong with it? Lino, it's a goal.
It was one of the worst decisions in football history.
Frank Lampard's shot with the score delicately poised at 2-1 to Germany in the World Cup.
It wasn't exactly Jeff Hurst in '66, was it?
Miles over the line. Lino didn't spot it. And the rest is history. I mean, Sepp Blatter said we can't let things happen like this in our big tournaments, and goal line tech was speeded up. So it was a pretty key moment.
And the whole thing's a disaster.
Yeah, exactly. Well done, Sepp. And Stan Collymore was alongside Mark Saggers on duty for talkSPORT that day. We'll play you that iconic bit of commentary. Sags is great in that. And Steve Armstrong's going to join us for a chat a little bit later on as well, cover all matters cricket and chat about After the Lights Go Out, his documentary series he does with Leon Mackenzie. And there's an episode on this weekend, and we'll tell you more about that later. In the meantime, Andy.
Few non-sport, I'm afraid, at this time of the year.
I've got a bit of sport in a minute, but do some non-sport first.
Well, just this, it's a survey. I know you love a survey.
I do love a survey, yeah.
I don't know how they work this out. People called Sue, Kate and Claire have the tidiest homes, while Gary, Dave and Nigel have the messiest. Really? I have been round to Nigel Adderley's place. It's a right mess.
It's like Mr. Trebus. It's like climbing over old 20-year-old newspapers to open the front door. What about Gary?
Gary, well, I don't know.
You've not been to Gary's place?
I've been to Gary's place.
And who was the other one? What was the other name?
Dave.
Dave's. I think we all know a Dave, don't we?
Of course we all know a Dave.
Yeah.
The grubbiest girls were called Lizzie, Maddie, Lola, Ali, and Poppy. How do they work
What a
this
load
out?
of old rubbish.
Yeah, no, it's
With
fantastic.
respect, Andy.
Yes,
Whoever
no,
put
no,
that together.
yeah,
Unless it was a talkSPORT survey, in which case it was bang on the money.
Brian Linford.
Oh, yeah, this is the guy
Pontefract.
who writes to the Star and occasionally puts capital letters in for emphasis in his letters. No punctuation. And so, as to add the emphasis, you shout the bits in
I
capital
do.
letters.
It's the scattergun nature of it. It's just that he starts off on one topic and veers away madly to something else. So
I think he's a genius. Yeah.
Emma Raducanu in Dubai Open faced a fixated individual in small tennis public area who then adopted a seat near her on court before reducing her to tears, eventually removed. LTA has not learnt from Monica Seles stabbing. UK MP clinic security has forgotten egg throwing at HM King. Charles York Royal walkabout to Trump. 2 assassination attempts is now in armour-plated beast car and Air Force One F-35 jets. The world is changing. Lack security is not. What?
Wow.
You sort of, each letter you read it about 5 times. You think, no, I didn't get this at all. I didn't
No, I
understand
completely understood where he was coming from. It was a bit of a gear shift, wasn't it, really?
Ridiculous. I do like this column that I call column fodder. This woman writes a column in the Mail on
This
Sunday.
woman.
Well, I don't like to name her because.
Okay. I mean, I think she probably knows who she is.
Well, she probably does, but nobody else.
You're saying it's money for jam, are you?
So, honestly, it is absolutely the most money for jam of any column I've ever read. I mean, you just look at it and you go, I don't get it. This one, wine does not belong in a can. Who cares?
Wow.
The list of unacceptable
03717.
The list of unacceptable things in life grows longer every year.
Is that from AB Brazil of Ipswich?
No.
Okay.
It's just a side effect of aging. So my new pet hate is canned wine. Okay, it's taken me a long time to accept that boxed wine is fine.
Yeah.
A trip to friends in France who poured their wine from a box changed my mind. But canned wine tastes disgusting.
Right.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Tremendous.
Canned wine, Ray. Canned. Pass me another can of wine.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rose, do you want to hear comments on Rose? Doesn't come in a can.
Okay, right then. Go
Or
on,
a box.
Let's have it. Go on then.
It's rosé season.
Oh yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
If you
well,
love-
it's the football close season, which means it's rosé season.
That's very
Yeah.
much so. If you love the wine as I do,
Oh yeah.
makes
She sounds like a bit of an old soap, doesn't she? She sounds like she'd probably drink wine from a bucket, never mind a can. Yeah, bit of a lush.
makes it a dangerous time.
Yeah.
Rosé slips down in a different way to red and white. Yeah, thanks for coming. I've developed a theory that this dreamy pink potion, because you can't say rosé.
Got a little bit of alliteration in there in a column.
The
Yeah.
dreamy pink potion doesn't register with the body as quickly as other wines, so
Yeah.
it's easy to feel effect until you've drunk too much. 1 glass, 2 glass, even 3, and it's possible to imagine you're still stone cold sober. Not for me. Then an hour later, your metabolism catches up. By which time, yes, it's too late and a hangover looms.
I think please drink responsibly is the message from that.
Please write responsibly. Would be
Yeah.
better. And it just goes on and on and on.
Oh, wow. Money for jam. Money for wine, by the sound of it,
Well,
Andy.
Steve
That's what she's spending it on, never mind
Very
jam.
true.
Andre Onana, the latest player to go home and have a kickabout with his mates. We were chatting to Perry Groves the other day, weren't we, on the show, when those pictures of Mateus Cunha surfaced. He went home from Brazil and had a little kickabout with his mates on the beach.
I like to see it. It means you love football.
It kind of does, but if you're Manchester United and you just spent 68 million quid on someone...
Yeah, he's not going to. Is he going to get injured playing?
Who knows? You can get injured anywhere. I suppose you could get injured falling down the stairs, couldn't he? But, I mean, it doesn't help if you... Okay.
Yes, he's with what's her name having some rosé out of a bucket.
Yes, they're sharing a bucket of rosé. So, no, but Andre Onana's the latest. Gone home to Cameroon.
Yeah.
And some of his old childhood mates in the old hometown were having a kickabout, and he joined in.
Wow.
Didn't go in goal, got out on the pitch, went through the moves.
Yeah, I know
So,
what you mean.
I mean, if
the
you-
clubs don't like it. Of course
If you are, if you're a fan of Manchester United, you think, just take it easy. I mean, because
They're
it's
supposed
always
to
going to be
having a
somebody
rest
wants
as well, really.
somebody want to make a name for themselves, going to kick you up in the air. Although they're supposed to be your mates, I guess. I don't know where that leads us, but I just thought I would bring that to you. You have been telling us about some of the things in the small print of Cristiano Ronaldo's contract. We're going to look at the broad brushstrokes a little bit later on, so you can keep those coming. All fans coming into the stadium must have the Ronaldo haircut. Barbers and stylists on hand at the gates. Wigs available for baldies. It says here, been suggested by one of the listeners. You want some other? You said you want fashion fishing crossovers.
Why
because
not?
Anna
Yeah.
Winter's going to the Angling Times.
That's what we believe.
Your sources tell you.
Yeah.
Tommy Hill Fisher, says Liam from Essex.
Very good.
Tony Fishing Banks. Remember Tony? Oh, good old Tony Banks. Cod de Garçon, says Guy in Worcester. That was Brent who gave us Tony Fishing
I think he
Banks.
means Jeff Fishing Banks.
Oh, Jeff Fishing Banks. Oh, yeah, Tony was the Chelsea supporting MP, wasn't he? Yeah. Cod de Garçon, you like that? Yeah, Guy in Worcester.
It's quite good.
Chanel, says John in Norwich.
Oh, very good.
Sergio Tencini, says Dean in Stockport.
That's a stretch.
Carp Lagerfeld. Daiwa and Gabbana.
Imagine a carp wearing those big collars.
Steve Rambo. You like that Daiwa and Gabbana? Yeah.
Yeah.
Marvellous. Calvin Line, says one of the listeners, going, trench connection. Oh, that's not bad. Yeah, well done, Tim. The Devil Wears Piranha, says Gavin. Talksport.com. 81089 tweets us here. So H&J with Anna Winter and his sources telling him heading off to Angling Times from Vogue.
A good mate of Nigel Botherway's.
It's great. I just see her in her bivvy, just sitting there late at night eating little pack of cheese sandwiches with the rain pouring down. Just somebody saying, "You having I'm loving it. I'm like a pig. You know what I'm like. I'm absolutely loving it. Just getting down here on the bank."
Marvellous.
Anyway, skate moss. We must have had that one. We did, didn't we? Yeah. Okay, fine. Talksport.com, text 81089, tweet TSH&J. We'll find out more about that Ronaldo contract with Ben Jacobs, our Saudi correspondent. He's also keeping an eye on all the transfer stories of the day, and we'll cover some of those with Ben. Yes, Stan will join us alongside Saggers that day, of course, at the World Cup when Frank Lampard and England were sawn off, and football changed forever, really.
He's got some interesting views on some of the players that might be leaving and joining clubs and everything.
Yeah, so we'll do all that. But Ben, up next, it's Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on TalkSport with Tool Station. Stay one step ahead, whatever the job. Next stop, Tool Station. Now, the reunion of the century starts next week, and we're giving you a chance to win a pair of Oasis tickets in Manchester on July the 19th. You can have that pair that Jamie O'Hara couldn't get his hands on breakfast this morning. Yes, you heard that right. Oasis Live 25 is sold out, but talkSPORT can get you in. Alongside the tickets, we'll put you up for a night in a hotel, $5,000 in your back pocket, completely tax-free. Listen up right now for everything you need to know and how to enter.
Alright, kid. You have to be over 18 to enter in the UK, excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win a pair of tickets to the most electrifying rock and roll reunion of the century, a hotel stay, and $5,000 spending money, all you gotta do is text the word Oasis to 83338 by Monday the 7th of July at 11 p.m. and you'll be entered into the draw to go supersonic this summer. Sorted. Right, here's all the legal stuff. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You've got to have the bill payer's permission or post your name and number to Oasis Prize Draw, PO Box 3190, Colchester, CO2 8GP, to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 10th of July. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full T's and C's at talksport.com.
Hawksbee, Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT, and we were talking through the finer points of Cristiano Ronaldo's new 2-year extension at Al Nassr, £488,000 a day.
It's eye-watering. I wonder how they justify it. He's some sort of ambassador, but he hasn't done anything for the football over there. You know, I don't get it.
Well, they would beg to differ. Let's see if someone who keeps a close eye on Saudi for us, as well as looking at our transfers. Ben Jacobs agrees. Hi, Ben.
Good afternoon, guys. How are you?
Good.
Yeah,
is he value for money, Ben?
Well, value for money, if you think about the bigger picture, such as tourism, promotion for the World Cup in 2034, using his image rights, all of that is kind of central strategy. And you've also got this Vision 2030 in Saudi Arabia, which has a sports arm about marketing different sports, particularly football, to younger audiences, tying it into health and wellness. So Ronaldo's being used for all of that. And you could argue because he catalyzed this whole project moving before that crazy summer in 2023, he's kind of bringing others over with him that maybe are better value for money. Would John Duran, for example, have wanted to go to Al Nassr if he wasn't playing alongside Cristiano Ronaldo? So that's the kind of hard to quantify value that the central deal makers are prepared to pay. And some would add a little bit of sports washing, although I suppose Saudi, to be fair to them, would say it's sports strategy, not sports washing. But if you just look at the actual money he's receiving for playing football, of course, it's astronomical. It's nearly £180 million a season, plus all of the added perks on top, the accommodation, the flights, the bonuses, and so on. And that definitely is not something that any footballer, you could say, would be valuable to pay simply in those terms, because Al Nassr are not filling out their stadium. They haven't won an Asian Champions League. They've not even qualified for next season. It's Al Ittihad that won the title. So he's not brought them trophies. But that's the sort of interesting thing about this whole project, that the money comes centrally. So Al Nassr are saying this is brilliant value for money, because actually at the end of the day, they're not the ones paying for it.
You just wonder, though, that all the benefits you talked about, you think they've already had those? I don't know. Look, it's their money; they can do what they like, but I think it's bonkers.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're not paying it, Andy.
No,
and
I'm not.
Maybe you can get a
but
job.
I'm not. I don't see suddenly Saudi football on Sky, for example, the Saudi League. I don't see any of that happening. All those things that you thought might happen in this thing that they wanted to be in the Champions League and all that sort of stuff.
But I think, as Ben, as you said, that's kind of not the most important thing for their point of view. They don't want their football to be a point of view. There's a bigger picture from their point of view, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think we're moving into sport meets entertainment, right? So we also need to think about the future projection and how Ronaldo can be cashed in. One is this new TV rights deal and a renewal in Portugal that will have a return on investment. But the other might be that Turkey Al Sheikh, who's being linked with investment in the UK, is running this thing called Riyadh Season, and that's what brings over big sports like boxing, and that is making Saudi money. So I think what we're going to see is Ronaldo be rolled out as a bit more of a gimmick, which might not be everyone's cup of tea and may not be related only to Al Nassr. And if they can use Ronaldo in Saudi to play what was supposed to be the last dance, which was more of an exhibition where Messi was supposed to come over and play Ronaldo, but they were both basically injured for that game. When they redo things like that, you're going to find that contractually Ronaldo has to go above only Al Nassr and do these kind of things. And as he's rolled out in more gimmick style form, that will have an amount of money that they can cash in, and slowly but surely they'll claw back some of the outlay. But I think deep down, there's no real care in Saudi if they throw loads of money at Ronaldo and lose loads of money on Ronaldo, because if it has that ability to use his image rights, if it attracts other players that can get them a return on investment, and ultimately at the end of the day, if it means you get the tourism, the sports washing, the sports strategy, then the central Saudi deal makers are happy. And like I said before, they're the ones that are paying for it.
Let's move on to some of the transfers. Brian and Brumo, Manchester United looks like it's edging ever closer.
Yeah, the plan is to do a medical next week, although there's no set date at the moment. He still hasn't technically been given permission to go and do that medical, but Manchester United's idea is medical next week. A agreement in principle isn't too far off. We're there on the kind of guaranteed part of the fee, and now they're discussing the add-ons and the payment terms, and it might even be a bit more all in than the 62.5 million that was paid for Matheus Cunha. But Manchester United are optimistic on getting this one over the line, and Bumo is waiting for permission to undergo that medical. He only wants Manchester United. I'm not expecting a Spurs hijack or anybody else to better the Manchester United offer. And now I think it's just a case of being patient as they finalise the structure of the deal. But they're not far off that full agreement. And of course, if they can get there in the next few days, then Mbumo will be on track for that medical next week.
Both good players, but they need to do other moves. They need to shift some players. They've got a lot of holes in that squad. So, that those two players alone won't. They'll improve them, obviously, but not to the extent that United fans want, I think.
Yeah, I think 2 10s, but Mbumo can go and play centrally up front and also float right, and Cunha can go left. It's interesting because Bruno Fernandes's role may change if Mbumo arrives, plays, and so does Cunha. And then where does that leave, for example, Mason Mount? So we might see a bit more tactical flexibility, but Ruben Amorim wants athletes, speed and goals. And I think that Cunha and Mbumo tick that box. And now they need to focus on getting a flurry of outgoings, really, to fund a number 9. And if they can bring in a number 9 plus 2 10s, then Ruben Amorim will be happy. I think defensive reinforcement, a deeper lying midfielder, a number 2, or some would even say a number 1 goalkeeper, will all come later in the window. But after Mbumo resolves itself, hopefully positively from Manchester United's perspective, number 9 is the main priority. But first, they've got to find a solution for Marcus Rashford. They've got to get Jadon Sancho out the door. Anthony wants to go back to Betis. Garnacho could be pure profit. All of these sound enticing because collectively it might be another 200 million in terms of financial leeway that allows you to move in the market. But each of those outgoings has complications. And if they drag on, then Manchester United after Mbumo may have to be patient, because from a PSR perspective, even though we're heading into the new financial year, right now they don't have much leeway.
Let's talk about Eze as well at Palace. It seemed some stories last night suggesting Arsenal and Liverpool are also in the mix with Spurs and maybe some others, Ben.
Yeah, I think this could be a bit of a North London derby in particular between Spurs and Arsenal. Myself and Alex Crook broke the interest yesterday between Arsenal and Eze. I'm not aware of any approach yet to Palace, but it's a release clause in the region of £68 million that can be paid in 3 instalments. And a bit like the Matheus Cunha deal, when you're that specific in a release clause and it's not a lump sum, even though 68 million is a big outlay, suitors feel that that club-to-club negotiation will be quite simple, whether they trigger the clause or choose to match it. And from Arsenal's point of view, they like the fact that Eze has that versatility where he could be a left-wing solution, but also play more centrally. They've got Anthony Gordon and also Rodrigo, in theory, at Real Madrid on their list, but he needs to speak to Xabi Alonso first and clarify his future. But he might be available for a fee in the region of 90 million euros. So then you look at Gordon Gordon. Newcastle feel he's untouchable, and Eze at 68. So of those three, Eze's definitely the most feasible. And I think Spurs and Arsenal in particular are really serious about Eze. From Liverpool's perspective, they're going to be focused on a number 9 first rather than a left-sided attacker. But if Luis Diaz departs and there's interest from Barcelona and Saudi Arabia, then maybe they could enter the race for an Eze. But at the moment, it's all quiet between Liverpool and Eze. But Arsenal and Spurs are definitely advancing, and we wait and see whether they approach Crystal Palace either with a desire to trigger that clause or a different kind of structure.
I wonder if the righty factor comes in then.
Yeah,
I mean, there's something about that Palace-Arsenal link and Ian
true.
Wright and so many of those guys having grown up watching
He's a
him
wonderful
play.
player, but they need a striker, doesn't it? You know,
I mean, I think
Arteta, they might as well not even bother to compete this season. They don't buy a striker.
I think they will. They've got time.
Got to, surely.
And I think Spurs do need
that has to be their priority.
a statement signing. Just a very quick one on Darwin Núñez, Ben. What's the latest there? Looks like Napoli. Is that right?
Yeah, Liverpool are waiting for a bid, but it's very simple. Núñez wants to join Napoli, and Napoli see Núñez as their top priority. They are trying to finalise terms with the player, and then they'll approach Liverpool formally. The challenge is that Liverpool had a rejected bid from Al Nassr in Saudi for 70 million euros, and they're sticking to that valuation. So it's going to be difficult for Napoli to do Núñez too far south of 70 million euros. I'm told that Napoli are prepared to go to 60 million euros. So there'll be about a 10 million gulf in valuation when they finally, as expected, make a bid. And then we'll have to wait and see whether Liverpool are prepared to go down or Napoli maybe will meet them halfway. But I think 65 to 70 million euros is Liverpool's rough valuation that they might accept a deal on. And at the moment, Núñez prefers that move to Napoli rather than a switch to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, you won't get that sort of money. That's not looking for your money back, which I don't think you're going to get.
If my team spent that money on him.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to spend that much. But we'll see, Ben. Always a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. So don't forget to check out the Transfer Insiders podcast over on the talkSPORT app, or wherever you get your podcasts, or head over to our live transfer blog at talksport.com. Classic bit of old talkSPORT archive coming up 15 years ago today. England was sawn off against Germany in the World Cup, and Frank Lampard had a goal ruled out that would have taken England back to 2-2. They ultimately lost 4-1. Who knows what would have happened had that goal been allowed, but it led pretty directly to goal line technology. And we've never really looked back technology-wise in football. And this is where we are now. We opened that particular Pandora's box because of that moment. And joining us next, Stan Collymore, who's sitting alongside Mark Saggers in the stadium that day, watching it all unfold. And we'll play that classic bit of commentary, as we say, in a few moments' time.
So Leicester have finally got rid of Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's left by mutual consent. Scott Minto's wondering where all this leaves the club with pre-season training starting next week.
There's no manager. The coaches are leaving. The players are either leaving or I think there's 8 who have only got 1 year left on their contracts. Who's going to want to come in with a potential points deduction hanging over them? Listen, I don't think they're going to do a Luton, but I certainly don't think they're going to be anywhere near, at this moment in time anyway, where they want to be, and that's chasing promotion again.
Over at the Club World Cup, Bernardo Silva says Man City's 5-2 trouncing of Juventus shows Pep's team can do it all again.
Obviously, it's just one game, but we're happy that the performance was the way it was, because it shows that we're improving, we're coming back to the levels and to the standards that we got people used to at this club. And that's good. That's a good sign for next season.
And as Sports Bar took over breakfast, Noel Gallagher set J&Jace a quiz to win tickets to see Oasis this summer.
The classic Oasis lineup, which is Alan White, I'm sure you know, Paul McGuigan, Bonehead, me and our kid. Honestly. What was the average shoe size?
Find out the answer from breakfast's full interview with Noel Gallagher on the talkSPORT YouTube channel.
Good afternoon, it is Hawksbee and Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Clips of the week to come in the final hour. It is 15 years to the day that England played Germany in Bloemfontein in the World Cup. Ultimately, it finished 4-1 to Germany, but with the score at 2-1, I'm sure you can see it in your mind's eye, Frank Lampard had a shot from distance that clearly crossed the line, as we could all see. Everybody, of course,
it would have been a momentum shifter, I think.
Apart from the lino. Stan Collymore is going to join us shortly. He was sitting alongside Mark Saggers in the stadium in Bloemfontein when the moment happened, and I think it's fair to say Saggers went into meltdown. Stan, here we go.
Come on, where's David James? Defoe! Oh, come on, Rooney, he's not fit. Yes! Come on! Come on! Come on! Come on! Yes! Yes! It's a goal! It's a goal! It's a goal! It's goal! It's a 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 goal! Boo! Boo! It's a goal! It's a goal! Oh! Miles over the line! It's cheating! You FIFA, you should have video. It's this far over.
Only Stan knows what he said there.
Of course, he wasn't on air. Well, for most of it, anyway.
I saw Saggers on Brighton Beach having his sandwich. He's going, it's a goal.
It's a goal. In the end, it's not even saying, hey, it's a goal. Oh, yeah. Stan, that bring back memories?
It does. I can remember it very well. We're on the halfway line and Frank hit the ball to our left. And of course, in the press tribune, particularly at World Cup finals, even then, I mean, going all the way back to World Cups before technology was implemented in the game significantly on the pitch, is that you, as one of the broadcasters, of course, official broadcasters, is that we'd have replays and be able to see everything that happened. So Saga's diplomatic as always. We were sitting on the edge of one row, and the FIFA guy with they wear little blue jackets with just a little FIFA lapel badge. And he kept on saying, "Are you FIFA? Are you FIFA? What are you going to do about it?" And I was like, "Dad, they're not going to get to the edge of the pitch, pal, and demand that they implement VAR just for this one occasion." But of course, it changed. It was one of the pivotal things that did change the landscape and introduced, whether you think it's a good idea or not, VAR at major tournaments across the world, so that we now get to know, as a matter of fact, whether the ball did or didn't cross the line. On that day, it did, but it wasn't given. And for me, I would be happy as a pundit and as a fan to just have goal line tech, have all the other stuff. But yes, I remember it very well.
That's the thing, Stan,
It's the
isn't
one
it?
thing that worked.
Goal line tech worked, and we all thought, oh yeah, tech works, it's fine. Once we just open that particular Pandora's box, it'll all be fine. But I think we've now realised that isn't the case.
Yeah, and like I say, I think that we can all. I mean, the argument was, and Durham got it absolutely spot on, to be fair to him. While we were plugging shows and saying, look, it's time to bring VAR in to look at things, fouling, diving in the box, Aid mentioned that Pandora's box. And I don't think VAR has served football fans well. I don't think it serves players well. But goal line tech does, because those are just, that is the most important thing that will ever happen in a game, a goal being scored. And it's a matter of fact as to whether the ball crosses the line. So if we could go back to that, great. But I don't think that's going to happen.
No. Now, this Club World Cup, Stan, has been the kind of warm-up, the rehearsal, the way that the Confederations Cup normally is. And we are getting a lot of talking points. We're getting issues with the weather. We're getting quite a lot of complaints about the pitches we've been hearing. So you're going to be over there for the tournament. So what are you making of all this at the moment?
Well, I'm going to be based over in Miami. And I remember when we went to the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, is that England played a couple of games in the Hard Rock Stadium there. And England trained at a place called Barry University, just outside of the city of Miami. And so I'm going to base myself in Miami, go and watch England games wherever that may be. Sod's law, England will play in Vancouver and Seattle and the East Coast. You can absolutely
You might as well have flown from London.
Exactly. But I just wanted to put in listeners' minds, 1982 World Cup, which is special to me because it's the first World Cup that I remember, in Spain, hot weather. 28 days the tournament was, 24 teams. So teams could go there knowing that they've got a month and it's done and finished and dusted. The 2026 World Cup is 38 days. So you're tagging on an extra 10 days. And for teams that get to the latter stages, that's not just extra games and extra hanging on for... Those are 10 extra training sessions in heat. And I just think that FIFA, Jude Bellingham mentioned it, Luis Enrique mentioned the pitches. Look, the pitch curators, as they're called now, groundsmen as we're in old money, they'll be having kittens at the way that managers have talked about the pitches. So that's going to be something that can be dealt with, I would imagine, fairly quickly, as will extra things like extra juice on the pitch, extra sprinkling, pre-game, half-time, etc., etc. But the heat one is going to be a major issue for the training. And I think that when you go out to a World Cup and you add that England are probably going to go out a week before, Paul and Andy, that's 45 days. And that's a significant chunk of time to go, to prepare, to try and get to altitude. If England think, well, there's a chance we might get to play Mexico, Monterrey again, as we did in one of the previous World Cups, that's a major worry for me. Is that players are going to, again, Harry Kane, just let's think of Harry Kane, another German season ahead of him. Bayern might win the Club World Cup, goes to Germany, plays another season, probably on the back of 10 days proper rest, comes back with England, plays the games wherever we're going to play at Wembley, and then probably, I'm hearing in Miami, that England are going to play at least one of the games, and then a potential for another 38 days. I just think it's ridiculous. And I think that unless... I wasn't one of these former players that moaned a lot about the calendar, but we are now getting to the stage where unless you've got a 40-man squad, that you are really going to struggle to compete with the demands of both club football and international football. And it's something that's going to creep up on us very quickly. We've already had lots of stats from FIFA's in-house technical crew that there have been less goals scored, in tournaments where players are redlining early stages of this Club World Cup. So what do we want? Do we want to be entertained, or do we just want to flog a dead horse 12 months of the year?
Absolutely. Totally agree with you.
I agree with you totally. And people are going to compare the quality we saw at Qatar, which was a very good World Cup, to this, which I think is going to be quite a disaster, really slow and not.
I mean, Andy feels we are edging really to permanent Winter World Cups.
It makes so much more sense.
Yeah, and I think that's obviously something that will factor into the thinking. Look, the reality is that this Club World Cup will and has to work because it's underpinned by the PIF, the Saudi fund, which obviously owns a huge part of Newcastle United. So that's where all of this significant prize money is coming from. I do want to briefly touch upon, firstly, I'm disappointed from the African team's perspective that when you go into these tournaments and you're playing against the big boys, PSG, Man City, Atletico Madrid, etc., Real Madrid, is that you're thinking to yourself, who's going to be competitive, who's not? We could have all probably guessed that Auckland City were not going to be competitive. But in terms of the African teams, it's been a disaster. And the other one, which I want to ask Andy in particular, because obviously Andy watches Argentinian football quite a lot. And I remember going to the Bombonera a few years back, 5 or 6 years ago, and saw a game, Boca Juniors against San Lorenzo, which was the former Pope's team, I believe, is that it can't be going down particularly well, Andy, that arguably South America's two biggest teams are not going to go into the next round, whilst pretty much all the Brazilian teams are.
Yeah, they've all come home, the Argentinians. I mean, the fans were fantastic, but the teams stunk it out a bit, didn't they?
You know, when you see players like Echeverri going to City so early, they've always been their problem. You know, all their best players leave. And
and they tend to get some of them back, like Riquelme, when they're a bit knackered.
Edison Cavani, you know, he's about 50. He's at least 39, I think. So.
Yeah, I agree, but I do think that at least with the Brazilian teams, like Palmeiras top to poor group, to be fair, Inter Miami, Porto, Al Ahly, Botafogo just behind PSG on the same amount of points, of course, could have been Atletico Madrid. Flamengo, I've got a bit of a soft spot for because one of my heroes, Zico, of course, played for them back in the 80s, have qualified above Chelsea. Is that I agree with you to a point about, look, we all know that a kid is 17, 18 and Tim Vickery will go on a radio or television station and say he's going to be at Chelsea or he's going to be at Man United next year. But I do find it fascinating that particularly with how much Argentinian support there was for River Plate and for Boca Juniors, that it's the Brazilian teams that they're under the same restrictions, really, having to blood young players.
Got more money, though.
They have more money in Brazil. We've seen more money going back into Brazilian football, which is allowing them to keep better players. I mean,
for longer.
Yeah, that's right. That's been an issue, but it's true. I mean, the fans were sensational, weren't they? But the teams didn't live up to what they gave it.
Yeah.
Well, Stan,
as for the favourites, I think it's. I mean. The one good thing that may come out of this for Manchester City is that the fact that if the Juventus performance is anything to go by, and I always go first, bizarrely, on smiles on faces, people were smiling, people were laughing, people were relaxed, is that if they can get through this without any significant injuries and then Pep Guardiola says, right, we're going to have a couple of weeks break, get yourselves away, is that winning this Club World Cup, I think it's going to be them or PSG, to be honest. Yeah. I think that if Manchester City were to win it, that would be a real fillip after a poor last season. And, of course, going into a new Premier League season where the likes of Liverpool, whether it be Kirkes or in particular Florian Wirtz, adding already to championship quality teams. So I think it's going to be Manchester City or PSG to win.
Can they play in the final, Stan? I've not looked at the draw, so can they meet in the final?
I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know. But I think that if it was the two facing each other now, of course, PSG on the back of a really good season, my favourite team, I think many people watch PSG's performances against English teams because they played Liverpool, played Arsenal, played Villa, never mind the gubbing in the final, and thought, this is a fun team to watch. And they really used Pep Guardiola as a stick to beat him with Pep Guardiola's brought this robotic 1- and 2-touch football into European, into global football. This is the way, ideally, that kind of system should play. Yes, lots of possession, but with a lot of individual flair. Yeah. So Manchester City are my favourites to win it, which obviously then leads to a potential fascinating Premier League season. But like I say, 28 days, the 1982 World Cup, half the amount of teams, 24 teams, 48 teams in 38 days. It's going to be whoever wins the World Cup next year is going to do it the hard way, because it's going to be a massive slog, potentially on quite slow pitches, and of course with the heat in any part of the continental United States, never mind Mexico, is going to be a real travail for the team that goes on and wins it.
Absolutely. Stan, we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Stan.
Take care. Have a good end.
All the best.
I think they can meet in the final there.
Yeah,
sitting in the bottom half of the
that
draw.
would be good. You've still got Real Madrid in there, one or two others. Anyway, we're going to talk cricket next with Steve Harmison. After the lights go out, the documentary series he does for talkSPORT with Leon Mackenzie's back this weekend. I think Leanne Sanderson is the subject of this one.
Okay.
And so we'll have a chat with Harmy. Joffre's back. Mark Wood's in the nets. So a little bit of good news out of the England camp ahead of the Ashes. So we'll catch up with Harmy. In a few moments, we're here with our good friends at Tool Station, ready to help at over 580 stations nationwide. Next stop, Tool Station. Good afternoon, Hawksbee and Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Clips of the week to come in the next hour. But before that, we're going to talk a bit of cricket. And we've got the second test at Edgbaston after that brilliant first test at Headingley this week. Jofra Archer got the call-up. He'll be part of the squad. You do hope he'll play. It's a pretty good chance he won't. And you have to ask the question, which Michael Vaughan said, and Paul Farbrace, why does he just stick around and have another game for Sussex if he's not going to play?
It's a good point. I think they want to have a look at him in the nets, probably.
Yeah, but anyway, let's get the thoughts of Steve Harmison. Hi, Harmy.
Afternoon, boys. How we doing?
Yeah, not so bad. So we had Michael on yesterday with Mark Nicholas, and he said really he didn't see the sense of it. Give him another game with Sussex, get him sharpened up, bring him in for the third test. I don't know where you stand on this.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of complexities towards this. The Sussex bit, and I agree. I wouldn't play Jofra at Edgbaston. I think it's brilliant to see him back in the squad. I'm so pleased for Jofra just to get back in the group. So that'll be good to have him around in the early part of the week. He's bowled 18 overs in red ball cricket in 4 years. We're in the middle of the Kookaburra round of county championships, something that people probably that don't go across the county championships will probably understand. That ball is a waste of time, absolute waste of time. The pitch is flat and it's a waste of time in English conditions at this year. It's too long of a story to go into it now, but this is where what I think will happen with Jofra. I think England have picked him in the squad not to play him at Edgbaston, but possibly to release him on Monday so he doesn't bowl in both innings for Sussex on an absolute shirt front with a ball that's doing absolutely nothing and potentially stand in the field for 200 overs over 4 days. That's what I would do with him. So I think they've picked him. Great, get him in the squad. I then release him once the team's announced to bowl 15 overs, 20 overs in the second innings of the Sussex game where Sussex are playing at home to Warwickshire. I play him in that because if he had been on the other side of the coin this week, he'd have been at Durham on an absolute flat wicket with a ball that's doing nothing. Durham fielded 106 overs in the first innings, 111 overs against Sussex in the second innings. That would have, that's back to Mount Maunganui when we broke him the first time. So I can see why people don't want him in until Lords. I can see why they're saying leave him at Sussex, but don't leave him at Sussex for both innings. I think England have pulled off a little flanker here because you can have a substitute. So once he's released from England, he can then now go into the game for Sussex against Warwickshire. And I would have him as a substitute. What a substitute to have. But that's the way I would look after Jofra this week and then bring him in for the Lord's Test match.
Okay. The past few days, though, Harmy, have been an absolute treat for the purists. First of all, we had this wonderful Test match at Headingley, which was defied belief, really. We shouldn't do because they've done it before. And then we've had this Test match going on in Barbados, which I'm sure you're across as well, which has been fascinating and really could be an interesting...
Give us a bit of background on that one, Andy.
Well, basically, it was West Indies are playing Australia at Barbados. Both sides were dismissed cheaply in the first innings, ball on top, and Australia struggling in their second innings, putting together a bit of a partnership, and it's well placed. But their batting looks a bit weak, especially without Steve Smith.
Michael Vaughan was saying much the same yesterday about their batting, Harmy.
Yeah, they are. It's a pity we couldn't get the Ashes started this week because Australia do look as though they're searching for what's the right formula as they're one to sort of 6. Smith's a big miss. I think Labuschagne might come back in for the Ashes. I wouldn't write him off. He's too experienced, and I think because of where they are, they might need his experience. Hopefully, a bit of period out of the game might get him into a little bit of form. Where India let back in by dropping catches. This West Indies Australia series. It's a gift that keeps on giving with the third umpire, the TV umpire. He's had an absolute shocker.
Yeah, that LBW.
That ball bounced. They're playing one hand, one bounce over there in Barbados, and they're also playing if it hits the bat close to the pad, well, we'll give you that anyway. So it doesn't really matter. They are having a shocker across there. But no, it's good for Test cricket. We're talking about it, and I'm pleased Jofra's back in. But just watch out for. I think England will manage this. He's back in the squad to manage the situation. Yeah. But first and foremost, 4 years without red ball game. He bowled 18 overs last week. By all accounts, he bowled quite well. Not really that fast, but bowled quite well on a wicket, which was, in a situation where the ball was embarrassing, the wicket was flat. last week's county championship was an absolute waste of time, and next week's could be as well.
We want to talk about after the lights go out because we're running out of time very quickly. You give us 30 seconds on your old mate Mark Wood. The word is he's doing a bit of light network after his knee surgeries. He's doing a little bit of bowling. How's he getting on?
Yeah, he's bowling off a couple of steps. Yeah, so he's getting less excitable because he's now starting to think as though he's back in playing. I mean, he's had a couple of good weeks and a couple of bad weeks, which all injury bowlers happen. But he's now starting to bowl off a couple of steps, and that's another great sign for English cricket going forward. While Australia might be having a bad time, I think England are absolutely thriving, and McCullum and Stokes leading forefront. Everything that's going on from a red ball point of view is going in the right direction, heading towards what is our big 9 Test matches.
Let's play a little bit of the latest After the Lights Go Out podcast, which is available to download. We had our very own Arsenal and England women's striker Leanne Sanderson on the show, chatting to you and Leon McKenzie on a big range of issues, including working in the media, dealing with abuse on social media, and coming out as the first openly gay female footballer. It's a little clip here of Leanne discussing footballers maybe coming out in the Men's Premier League.
People ask me a lot, like, oh, do you think we'll ever see? Now, we've got Jake Daniels, Josh Cavello, which is amazing. And it shouldn't be diminished because they don't play in the Premier League. But they do exist in the Premier League. They do. Like, the statistics are 1 in 4 person identifies with the LGBTQ plus community. So you're telling me that on every team there's not at least a couple. But they shouldn't feel forced. And I think we're moving away, thankfully, from people putting, big stories on the front of newspapers like witness protection. We know who you are. Because can you imagine how it must feel for a male player currently playing in the Premier League that's not able to be who they are? Like, it must impact the way they feel every day and performance. So, I don't know. I hope that we live in a day where there will be an active Premier League player that comes out when they feel comfortable, they feel protected, they feel supported. Because I don't think, if I was a player playing in the men's game now, would I come out? Probably not.
Yeah, interesting. Sounds like a good chat, Harmy.
Brilliant chat. I mean, talk about a gift that keeps giving. Leanne's brilliant, isn't she? She's absolutely box office. And she speaks so open, so honest, from the heart. And she touches subjects which people are so frightened to touch. It was a brilliant 50 minutes, 55 minutes. We could have done that. We were under real time constraints with Leanne, and we could have done an hour and a half and more to get some more information out of her. But no, it was another tick in the box because it was another subject that we talked about that we hadn't talked about in 4 series. And for me, this is probably one of the best ones we've done.
Excellent. Well done, cheers, Harmy. We'll catch up with you next week.
Cheers, boys.
After the lights go out with Leanne Sanderson, Leon McKenzie and Steve Harmison in conversation. You can download that now from all your usual podcast providers.
Imagine the late great Fred. 18 overs in 4 years.
Yeah.
1,000 overs a summer.
This man, keep bowling. Bowl him into the ground. He can bowl no more. There should be a trench on his running. Anyway, we're going to be chatting. We're doing a bit of athletics next. You and Tom are going to join us for a chat. They attempted the 4-minute mile for a woman yesterday. Faith Kipyegon, one of the great milers, wasn't able to do it, and everything was in place. It was like one of these specials where you have sort of pacemakers and everything was in place to break the 4 minutes.
It is amazing, isn't it? I mean, it's 1952 when Roger's in my lifetime. Really.
Will it ever be done is the question people are asking. You want to tell us more? We'll talk about of Southampton. That's his team, of course. Tom Macklin on American Sports, clips of the week. And we'll look ahead to the under-21s live on talkSPORT tomorrow night against Germany in the final of the European Championship. All to come in the last hour.
So Leicester have finally got rid of Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's left by mutual consent. Scott Minto's wondering where all this leaves the club with pre-season training starting next week.
There's no manager. The coaches are leaving. The players are either leaving or I think there's 8 who have only got 1 year left on their contracts. Who's going to want to come in with a potential points deduction hanging over them? Listen, I don't think they're going to do a Luton, but I certainly don't think they're going to be anywhere near, at this moment in time anyway, where they want to be, and that's chasing promotion again.
Over at the Club World Cup, Bernardo Silva says Man City's 5-2 trouncing of Juventus shows Pep's team can do it all again.
Obviously, it's just one game, but we're happy that the performance was the way it was, because it shows that we're improving, we're coming back to the levels and to the standards that we got people used to at this club. And that's good. That's a good sign for next season.
Liam Delap's also impressed in the US in his first few games for Chelsea. And Ashley Cole tells us Delap's got all the tools to get to the next level, but he's got some advice. Not for Liam, for you.
In this day and age, we're a little bit harsh on the younger players. I think they need time. They need time to grow, and they don't need to be judged. I think it will take time for him to develop. It will take time for him to adapt to the way Chelsea want to play. Everyone, of course, wants these young players that go into new environments and new clubs to hit the ground running. But, you know, I think we have to be realistic.
And as Sports Bar took over breakfast, Noel Gallagher set J&J a quiz to win tickets to see Oasis this summer.
The classic Oasis lineup, which is Alan White, I'm sure you know, Paul McGuigan, Bonehead, me and our kid. Honestly. What was the average shoe size?
It's so good. If you're 5'8", you're not going to have massive feet, are you?
Hey.
You're not going to have massive feet.
Hey.
Let's be honest.
Hang on a minute. What have you heard?
Find out the answer from Breakfast's full interview with Noel Gallagher on the talkSPORT YouTube channel.
Good afternoon, Paul Hawksbee Jacobs here on talkSPORT, where Todd Macklin will join us for an American sports roundup. There's been a spate of the same injury, not just in the NBA, but also in the NFL, and there are concerns, and they're turning to all sorts of technology to try and get to grips with it. We'll be chatting to Todd Macklin about that, amongst other things. Clips of the week. And Henry Winter joins us from out in Slovakia, where England will take on Germany tomorrow evening live on talkSPORT to try and win back-to-back under-21 European Championships. But before that, we're going to talk a little bit of athletics. And there was an attempt at a 4-minute mile for Faith Kipyegon, the fine Kenyan runner. Everything was in place. The pacemakers, the drafters. We'll find out what the drafters do from our guest very shortly. Lots and lots of people trying to make it happen, but it didn't happen, and came up well short, really, effectively, at 6 seconds.
Was
short.
it even a world record?
I think it was. It broke her record, but not enough to get to the magic 4-minute mile for a woman. Let's have a chat with the former Team GB athlete, Olympic silver medalist, and indeed a pundit and a keen athletics watcher these days, and Saints fan. Ewan Thomas joins us. Hi, Ewan.
Good afternoon, guys.
Yeah, so the drafter, I see pacemakers, pacers and drafters, Ring. What does the drafter do?
Yeah, I suppose in essence, if you can compare it to a cyclist where someone's, at the front of the peloton and they're taking the wind, if you want, they're doing all the hard work. So everything was set up, as you said earlier, for Faith to get this sub 4 minutes. And I think 6 seconds is still quite a long way. I've got to point out, it's a good sort of 40, 50 metres off. But I do actually think she's that good an athlete. It's probably just a moment of time until it does happen. I mean, I don't want to come across as a old athlete who's going to complain about my day technology was rubbish, but it was. We literally running in plimsolls with spikes in the front. Not quite that bad, but I think the manufacturers nowadays, they put so much money into the development and research to make the running shoes, the running spikes so much better with all these carbon plates and so forth. I think in time, technology will improve to the extent, I'm not going to say an average athlete will start banging out really good times, but it is literally with the development of running surfaces, coaches, diets, and so forth. I think she will do it, or an athlete will do it. Whether she'll do it in her lifetime, I don't know, because it's big business, really. Let's think about it. If you've got the big brands, if they can manufacture a running shoe where someone is breaking a world record in, all of a sudden they attract the best athletes to want to be sponsored by that brand because they're going to run fast times, and then they're going to sell millions and millions of shoes off the back of it. So I think with development in these carbon fiber plates in the bottom of the shoes, which basically takes away the energy from the track. In fact, it transfers it back into your legs. I think she will do it, but as you said, she had everything set up last night, so she's clearly still a bit off it at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, not just the shoes, Ewan. The fly suit, it was a Nike. It was called the Nike Breaking 4 event. So I don't think they would have put that on and thrown all that might out if they thought she didn't have a decent stab at doing it. But the fly suit, the fly web bra she was wearing, the super spikes.
I have a slight concern though about all this, setting. Like we had this in the marathon where everything was set up and everything. I might be wrong, but did Roger Bannister, was it in the same way?
It was.
Was it set up? It was, wasn't it, in a sense?
It wasn't as technological, but what they did back in the day with Bannister was they tried to put everything in place to allow him to make that time.
Yeah, I mean, on a cinder track though, so you'd say, for that time in history, he was wearing obviously the greatest technology there was. But it's moved on. It's moved on so much, and you said about it in the marathon as well. The marathon world record has been smashed a few times because there's going to be a finite period where yes, you can only get to a certain level. The human body, the human endeavor, the talent of the athlete is doing the real work. Let's be honest, but these running spikes nowadays are so light and they're so cushioned, and the running surfaces are getting a lot faster as well. I think if you're in the right situation, those kind of times will go. But it's crazy that we're even talking about a woman who can run under 4 minutes. I mean, even for a male athlete to do it, it's a great feat indeed. But I mean, she did break her old world record, so she is in good shape. But she's already had quite a long season. So whether this is something that can come at a different time of year when she's a bit fresher, I don't know. But yeah, everything was set up for her to do it. I think, will all world records go in all different events? I don't know, but you would say it's only a matter of time before, we're seeing it in all different track and field events. People are getting better. Human evolution, we're getting bigger, we're getting stronger, we're getting wiser, we're getting smarter, we're recovering better, we're getting less injury. So, sub 4 minutes is some going for any athlete. So 6 seconds off, I don't think she'll do it this year, but I do actually think it is only a matter of time before a female athlete does run that quick.
Mike Parry said on this station many years ago, it's only a matter of time before a man runs 100 metres in 1 second. I think we're a fair old way off of that, aren't we, really?
unless they've got a jetpack strapped to them, I don't think so. But,
Yeah.
It's got an interesting thought, though. What would Usain Bolt run now, sort of 6 or 7 years on from his best?
Yeah.
Spikes and running shoes have developed. So I don't know whether a fully fit Usain Bolt, if he was around now with this technology in the running shoes, maybe he would have run 9.3. I don't know. But there has to be a point when the human body can't go any quicker.
Absolutely. The men's, I'm just looking at it here, the men's record has stood since 1999.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I suppose because they run 1,500 more than they ever run the mile. Maybe that's something to do with it. I don't know.
And also you've got to think at a major championships, you won't really see many world records unless you're very lucky, because that athlete has gone through the rounds, they've done a heats, they've done a semi-final, and quite often when the pressure is on, as you know, in sport, it's not about the winning time, it's just about taking the gold medal. So normally you'll only see world records in these one-off events where you've got a pacemaker or someone helping you get to the front and run at that pace.
So let's talk a bit of Southampton, your club. How are you feeling about the season ahead, Ewan?
Yeah, obviously, I'd rather be in the Prem, but, perhaps we'll win a few more. Actually, funny enough, an old athlete, Welsh teammate of mine messaged me yesterday, said, I can't wait for the fixture. And I said, which one? He said, Wrexham. I was like, oh, yeah, it'll be great. And, I hope we do all right. I mean, everyone always says their own team's too good not to be in the Premier League, but we weren't good enough last season, and we haven't been good enough for a few years. But I really hope we can find ourselves in that league, being competitive. And as we all know, if you don't get back in the first couple of years, it's really hard to get back. So let's hope they do it.
You've got a few. I mean, saw Adam Lallana retire the other day after an amazing career. We've got Onuachu. He's leaving, or I think he's left, hasn't he? Is it Sulemana Day leaving? Carl Walker-Peters has finished his contract, so there's going to be quite a few changes at the club.
Yeah, I think that is a danger. I think of years gone by, Southampton, the South Coast is quite an appealing place to move to if you're a footballer in the Premier League. But obviously, you're not in the Premier League at the moment, so we haven't got that pool that we once had. And over the years gone by, the academy, as we know, has brought through some amazing players. So we just need to hope the academy can continue to do that, or we show some good form early season and hopefully attract some new players to come, because it is a great club. I mean, I love it. And you mentioned Adam Lallana there. What a brilliant player for the club over the years. And, I remember watching him when he was young coming through, and I think someone like Adam can walk away from his career, finish the club where he really started for him, and being immensely proud of what he's achieved for club and and country.
He's going to be a good coach.
And the first game against Pompey is pretty soon, isn't it? In September. So at your place, so that'll be good.
That'll be an interesting one. I remember when we were in the same league before, and it's always quite tasty when the Pompey boys come down to watch. So that'll be good. I mean, funny enough, obviously we want to be in the Premier League, but that's a really brilliant fixture. The fact that we're up against our arch rivals again. So that'll be decent.
Nice one. Cheers, you, and all the best.
Thanks, you.
Thank you.
Ewan Thomas there, former Team GB athlete, chatting about Faith Kipyegon not quite making that 4-minute mile for the women, despite everything being in her favour. But who knows? I think if the win wasn't great, there was a few little things, but 6 seconds. It's not like she marginally missed out. It's quite a lot.
Yeah,
so
it's quite a lot,
anyway, Tom Macklin's going to join us. We're going to cover some ground with him from the world of American sports. We'll finish with a song, and I'm guessing most of you know it, so you can sing along if you like. Henry Winter's going to join us. We'll have some clips of the week for you as well. That's all to come. And we played you that classic bit of Mark Saggers. 15 years ago to the day that talkSPORT were in Bloemfontein at the 2010 World Cup, and Frank Lampard was sawn off, of course, the goal that crossed the line and led to goal line tech. Scotty, the chairboy on the Isle of Wight, said, could I employ Mark Saggers to do my gender reveal next week? It's a girl! It's a girl! It's girl! It's a girl. That's a nice idea, Scotty. We'll put it to him. I'm sure he'll be up for that. Talksport.com, text 1889, tweet TSH and J 03717 223344 to get in touch this afternoon. We're here with Toolstation. They're standing behind every single tradesperson of Britain. Next stop, Toolstation. Good afternoon, it's Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT, and that music signals the arrival of our man on American sports, Todd Macklin. Good afternoon, Todd.
Hi, boys.
Well, we now know the winners of the NBA finals, of course. Within the midst of that game, there was a bad injury
very early on to key player in that series,
to Tyrese Halliburton, which kind of led to Oklahoma coming through. It was an Achilles injury, and apparently there has been a spate of them in the NBA this season. Even there's been some in the NFL, and we're going to hear from Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, in a minute, but they're worried about it and they're looking into it.
Yeah, I think really it comes down to the players that are suffering these injuries. Paul, you mentioned the NFL. Well, that was Aaron Rodgers. You don't get much bigger than him in the NFL. And then the NBA, you mentioned Game 7 of the NBA Finals, Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum, right, the face and star of the Celtics, suffered one, and Damian Lillard, one of the veteran stars in the NBA. So I think, part of this is who's suffering these injuries. Are these lesser known? It's probably not as big a deal, but when it happens to the stars, it becomes a bigger deal. Yeah. Listen, I think with anything, there's no one reason why this is happening. There's many reasons, because I've been reading a lot about it since it happened, and because I just remember I put into Google, why are there so many Achilles injuries, and then there's so many things that pop up. One of the things they talk about is the players not wearing high top shoes as much as they used to. That's a factor. Another one is that the guys, and now that the present day athlete focuses so much on their individual sport, they don't play the other sports as much. They play their own sport 12 months a year, and those certain muscles or areas that are used a lot in in your particular sport all day, all the time, they get overused. And maybe that's why we're seeing it specifically, in the Achilles for NBA and NFL.
One of the reasons that we'll hear from Adam Silver, the commissioner, in a minute, but one of the reasons was they feel like all year round training and basketball specialisation from a much earlier age. So the kids are saying so they're working those same muscles constantly from a really early age, Todd.
Yeah, again, I don't think it's just one reason, but it is, again, when you're talking about the stars of the game, and listen, any league is about your stars. So when your stars are not going to be there. So the Boston Celtics are going to take a huge hit next season. They've already realized that and traded away two of their better players because they know they're not going to be competitive. They know the salary cap is going to be a factor. So when it affects your stars, it affects everything, your attendance, your TV numbers. I know that, we have these different factors of why it may happen. I don't know what you can do to prevent it, I guess, as well. So that would be the next thing is, hey, what can we do to prevent these Achilles injuries?
Well, look, they're turning to the highest of high tech, according to, say, Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner. This is what he had to say on TV.
This is one area where AI, people are talking about how that's going to transform so many areas. The ability with AI to ingest all video that of every game a player's played in to see if you can detect there's some pattern that we didn't realize that leads to an Achilles injury, whether it's associated with calf injuries. We really don't know, but we're taking it very seriously.
Maybe they can also spot if someone's in the red zone. I don't know, but look, bless you, Andy.
Sorry.
We'll find out. Let's move on. It was the NBA draft this week, and we've mentioned him before. The kid who was expected to be the first pick was the first pick, a young lad called Cooper Flagg. It was quite a record for his university, Duke, and also for his high school in Florida, Montverde, because, I think the Duke team had all 5 players selected in the first 2 rounds, and that rarely happens.
That's about as rare as it gets. But again, not surprising that it's Duke. because they have had so many stars make the transition and become stars in the NBA. They're one of the most high-profile basketball universities in all of the U.S. So, yes, to have all 5 is just not something you expect. But again, if it was going to happen, it was probably going to be Duke. And you mentioned, his high school team, Cooper Flag. I think they had 4 or 5 kids from that high school who end up getting drafted. Well, these high schools now, it's not kind of the high schools that we grew up with, whereas you tried out for the basketball team and you met your teammates, at the first practice or whatever. Now we're not only just recruit. Universities don't just recruit. These high schools recruit.
Sure.
The high school he went to, was it Montverde, I think?
Yeah.
They're run like a professional team. And so it's not just hey, I wonder who's going to be on my high school team. No, you pretty much know because you've all been recruited, from your middle school to go to these different high schools. It's incredible. I said they're professional. The money these high schools are making it's incredible and astronomical. But it just shows you, how big sports is when you're recruiting for high schools, right? Like they do
but
at
it
university
feeds back
and
into the
pro.
first story. It feeds back into the injuries, and
it does feed
exactly
back
the same.
What high level? Yeah, it's true. That's right. What high level are these kids playing at that they can go to high school and be recruited from around the world and taken out of other high schools to be sort of hot housed to play in these great high school teams? So anyway, let's move to baseball. And I was reading, hit by pitch is a thing.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of, it's been, a spate of these. A high-profile one, because it was Shohei Ohtani of the Dodgers, they're one of the current greats of the game. He wore one from the Padres' Robert Suarez, who got himself a 3-game ban reduced to 2.
Is it always deliberate?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, the player can argue it isn't. I think the pitcher was getting pretty frustrated with what Ohtani was doing, which was kind of hitting him all around the park. But it's a difficult one because what tends to happen is it all kicks off. As soon as a pitcher hits a batter, it clears the dugouts and they have a big tear up generally, don't they? And I think the 2 coaches in this case got involved in a brawl and they've been banned as well.
Yeah. So to Andy's point, is it always deliberate? The reaction, Andy, is always deliberate. You can sit there and debate. Was the pitch that started everything? Was the hit by pitch that started everything? Was that deliberate? And a lot of pitchers will tell you, well, the great hitters, we have to pitch inside. We can't let them get their arms extended over the plate. So you can argue, is the first one deliberate or not? I don't know. The second one is always deliberate. So what happened is Fernando Tatis of the Padres, he got hit, and he's been hit multiple times by Dodger pitchers, right? That's a big rivalry, the Dodgers and the Padres. So Fernando Tatis gets hit, and I'll tell you what has to happen. The Padres have to hit a Dodger.
Yeah.
And the Padres look at it and Fernando Tatis is one of our star players. If you're going to hit one of our star players, deliberate or not, we're going to hit your star player.
It's like the Untouchables top.
On the Dodgers. That's Shohei. It happened yesterday. I was watching, the team that's in Toronto, the Blue Jays. Vladimir Guerrero got hit twice in back-to-back games. Deliberate or not, it doesn't matter. What did the Blue Jays do? The Toronto Blue Jays, they hit the Cleveland Guardians' best player, Jose Ramirez.
Wow.
That's the way it works.
Good stuff. Well, we can't do one of these days without talking about Travis Kelce or Taylor Swift. He's involved in Happy Gilmore too. Christopher McDonald, who plays Shooter McGavin, the brilliant Shooter McGavin in the first film and in this second film, said that Travis was a surprisingly good actor. So we'll be looking out for more of his work.
Yeah.
This week he held what he calls the Tight End University. It was a coming together of lots of tight ends for kind of sharing best practice, as they say.
Yep. And Taylor did a concert at the Tight End University as well. Listen, it should not be a surprise that Travis Kelce is good in front of the camera, right? It feels like he's been in front of the camera a lot the last at least 10 years. And I got to believe, as well as being a pundit, that Travis Kelce, acting would be of something that he's hoping to do a lot of when the playing career ends.
Yeah, well, we're going to play out because as Todd just said, that he sort of twisted her arm and they have a party at the end of Tight End University. And Taylor got up and sung one of the hits. So we'll play out with her in action at that gig. And we'll catch up with you next week, Todd. Thanks very much.
See you, boys.
So Leicester have finally got rid of Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's left by mutual consent. Scott Minto's wondering where all this leaves the club with pre-season training starting next week.
There's no manager. The coaches are leaving. The players are either leaving or I think there's 8 who have only got 1 year left on their contracts. Who's going to want to come in with a potential points deduction hanging over them? Listen, I don't think they're going to do a Luton, but I certainly don't think they're going to be anywhere near, at this moment in time anyway, where they want to be, and that's chasing promotion again.
Over at the Club World Cup, Bernardo Silva says Man City's 5-2 trouncing of Juventus shows Pep's team can do it all again.
Obviously, it's just one game, but we're happy that the performance was the way it was, because it shows that we're improving, we're coming back to the levels and to the standards that we got people used to at this club. And that's good. That's a good sign for next season.
And as Sports Bar took over breakfast, Noel Gallagher set J&J a quiz to win tickets to see Oasis this summer.
The classic Oasis lineup, which is Alan White, I'm sure you know, Paul McGuigan, Bonehead, me and our kid. Honestly. What was the average shoe size?
Find out the answer from breakfast's full interview with Noel Gallagher on the talkSPORT YouTube channel.
Clips of the week on talkSPORT with Toolstation. Our friendly colleagues are right behind you at over 580 stations. Next stop, Toolstation.
Yes, time once again for the clips of the week with Toolstation. And Andy, do you want to kick us off?
I'd love to, actually. And we kick off with Troy Deeney and a cricket question he had for Steve Harmison.
Obviously, we've got Ben Stokes. Are you worried with his past injury record? Just the amount of overs he may have to bowl with, obviously, Jeffrey Archer and that being out injured.
Yeah, Jeffrey looking for a recall. He's got to be about 80 now to be running in that hard.
Doesn't seem likely.
It does seem unlikely. Of course, cricket was big news this week, with even breakfast Alan Brazil chatting to our reporter Sam Ellard about it.
Great atmosphere, but yeah, no, I think it's Southampton in a couple of years' time. We've got that test match up.
Once again, if it's not broke, don't try and fix it.
Well said, Al, well said.
Wasn't really, was it? He slightly fluffed the line, didn't he? Really, or fluffed the line. If you're gonna fluff a line, make sure it's the word "fluff the line."
And staying with Sam, we had a great example of nominative determinism.
You had a drink?
No.
What's it called?
Say
it again, Andy.
Nominative determinism.
Okay, that's right. At Headingley this week.
Yeah.
Pack the leg side out and see if England take it on. And of course England try and take it on. Harry Brook pulled a ball for 4. Jamie Six hooked a ball for 6.
Good old Jamie Six hitting a ball for 6.
I thought Ben Wicket's bowled well.
Yeah, Alan 4 hit some very good 4s, I thought. Yes.
Yes, it's you.
It is. Of course, the really big news of the week happened a long way from Leeds. Here's newsreader Amelia Beltrao.
US officials have hit back after Iran's supreme leader claimed his country's delivered a slap to America's face. It's pulled out of the UN's nuclear watchdog, with Ayatollah Khamenei's.
Ayatollah who, Amelia?
Khamenei's.
Oh, yes, yeah. We're not going to how many closer to getting that right, are we? I don't think at the moment, no.
This is Sam Matterface and Scott Minto discussing Ruud van Nistelrooy this morning.
He would have had 4 years of experience in sort of the last season that he had.
He's also been an assistant manager. He's worked in the Dutch setup. He's worked at PSV. It's not like he's green behind the ears.
But there is no, absolutely.
That sounds like an ear infection if you're green behind the ears, doesn't it?
Wet, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I'll get some ointment for that. You don't want to be green behind the ears. Don't mind being wet behind the ears, but once it starts going green,
you got a problem.
Definitely go and see a doctor. Definitely go and see a doctor. Anyway, never mind all that. What year is it? We keep forgetting, don't we, Andy? Don't worry. Jim White will know.
Just gone 12 this Wednesday lunchtime. 1 week today to the start of the Women's Euros, the 2012.
It's 2012.
2012.
I can't wait for 20 Twix, but 2012 is going all right. 20 Twix will be marvellous. The World Cup in 20 Twix. What's next, Andy?
Meanwhile, in tennis, Nick Kyrgios popped into the White and Jordan studio, and Simon paid a glowing tribute to him while he was sitting there.
He's an intriguing character, isn't he?
Yeah.
A remarkably talented tennis player that I think probably should have done more with his game.
Mm-hmm.
But notwithstanding that, when he speaks, he says the things that he speaks.
He does. When he speaks, he said, I think something sounded a bit starstruck there, as well as sounding a bit like Chris Eubank. Didn't he? Really, it was Eubank-esque.
It was, really.
Yeah. He likes his tennis, Simon. We discovered from Benty he's very good at it as well, didn't we?
Well, paddle.
Paddle, yeah. Time now for the talkSPORT Caller of the Week. It's Tim to the Sports Bar.
All right, Dave, thanks for your call. Let's go to Tim. He's Aston Villa fan. All right, Tim?
Hi, Tim. Hi, guys.
Hi, Tim.
How are you, Tim? You all right?
All right, Tim, what?
Yeah, not bad.
There we are. Fantastic. Well done, Tim. Well, Tim couldn't have been any better, could it?
No, not really. Now, newsreader Emma Cohen loves her golf.
Oh, yeah.
She's even got hold of the Ryder Cup captain's school register.
She has.
The owner of the New York Jets has bought John Textor's shares in Palace, and USA Ryder Cup captain Bradley Keegan says he's now tempted to be the first player captain since 1963.
She forgot to reverse it, but well, in a school register it's different, isn't it?
She used to love Keegan Kevin.
She
one of her favourite players.
One of her very favourite players.
Yeah, go on.
Back to Sam Ellard at the cricket. And what's that word that's a cross between gripping and cracking?
India need 5 wickets. England needs 69 runs. Headingley's the venue. This should be a cracking last hour or so.
A cracking.
It's a crack. It could have been worse if you'd inverted those two words, I suppose. And it certainly wasn't that, was it? Ultimately.
No, it wasn't.
Anyway, Andy.
Jim White's back here, setting the agenda for the show.
Is youth group success pointless if it never translates to senior level? Do Crystal Palace suffer from a lack of sex appeal? And can Chelsea still trust Nicholas Jackson, Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin O'Neill?
I wouldn't trust any of them. No. I can't see Chelsea trusting...
Definitely not Jackson. I don't know about the other three.
Maybe. They might trust Martin O'Neill.
Yeah.
Possibly Simon and maybe Jim. I don't know. And finally, it's Alan Brazil previewing a guest.
We'll also hear from Australia's all-time try scorer, David Campese, with the lines now officially down under. Ray will learn how to surf after we're joined by professional waterboarder.
Yeah, someone better tell Alan that waterboarding isn't the same as surfing.
It isn't.
If someone ever says to Alan, do you want to come waterboarding next week? And he turns up in his wetsuit, you better tell him, because it could be quite traumatic for the big man, really. Oh, I wasn't at Ray. I lay back and, I thought, when are we going in the sea? It was not nice. But I'm going back next week. So anyway, we should thank everybody who sent in clips. Adrian Sherlock, Andy Tideswell, Paul Taylor, MB of Dromfield, Mark Goodwin, Ian Ramsey, Matt Nash, all real until we get to Chris P. Chicken. Oh, grow up, Chris. Ian Murray, Sean Fackrell, Alan Jenkins, Jez Dobbs, Mark Jones and Glyn Barrington, all suggested clips that were played this week. As always, if you hear a clip on talkSPORT that you think will fit the bill and get you a mention, then do send it in to us at talksport.com/H&J. You'll be able to text it to H&J. Go to TSH&J, TSHANDJ at Twitter. As always, we just need a day and a time when you heard it go out to give us a fighting chance of tracking it down. Just tell us briefly what made you laugh, what it was about, and we'll listen back. And if it's played and it makes the cut, the final cut, you will get a credit. You can listen to those clips again, and indeed lots and lots of previous clips of the week, wherever you get your podcasts. The H&J Clips of the Week is available. I think it's available via the app as well as a podcast. So go and check it out there. And the H&J Daily with some of the best bits of this afternoon's show, including a classic bit of commentary from 2010 with Mark Saggers and Stan Collymore reminiscing about it a little bit earlier on when Frank Lampard was sawn off and goal line tech came to be. If you want to hear that and some mad conversations myself and Andy had, weird conversations today, they're available at the H&J Daily, again, wherever you get your podcasts. And the Clips of the Week with Tool Station will be back next week. Andy, anything else you want to discuss?
Oh, at this stage, no.
We should crack on. It's later than I thought.
Exactly.
Because Henry Winter's going to join us next. He's been out in Slovakia for the under-21 tournament, and he's been rewarded.
Yeah, it started slowly, but it's got better and better.
England have made the final. He's pretty well placed. He's been out there for the duration, I think, and he's pretty well placed to tell us. He's seen a fair bit of the Germans and England. It's live on talkSPORT tomorrow night, 8 o'clock kickoff. TV audiences for the games over here have been really good for the under-21 games. Yeah. So you'll be able to listen to it on talkSPORT, and we'll build up to that and look at some of the things that Henry has noticed from the tournament out there and the quality of the England side when he joins us in a few moments' time. We're here, as always, with Tool Station, staying one step ahead, whatever the job. Next stop, Tool Station. Good afternoon, Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. England go into tomorrow night's Under-21 European Championship final, looking to become the first back-to-back winners since Spain in 2011 and 2013. It's fair to say that those Under-21 sides trained on, didn't they?
Yeah.
And made an impact at senior level. Just before we hear from Henry Winter, the co-host of the Sunday edition, of course, here on talkSPORT, a journalist and author who's been out of the tournament, I think, throughout. Let's hear from England Under-21 coach and legendary England fullback Ashley Cole. He was on with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy on breakfast, and he said they have the belief to win back-to-back Euros.
Going into the tournament, we looked to, try to get through the group. That was the main aim, but then to continue to, perform at a good level. The players have not played with each other that much, so it was just about connecting and being a group. And obviously you reach another final back to back is a great achievement for the lads. We spoke a lot about winning after winning, how hard it is to win, but to put ourselves in a position where we could win again, I think the lads have shown a great resilience and togetherness, and Saturday will be the finale for us, and hopefully we can show our best foot.
There we are, Ashley Cole, the England coaches across the Slovakia. Then Henry Winter joins us. Hi, Henry.
Hi, boys. How are we doing?
Good, thank you. So you've seen a lot of this tournament. What can we take from the first meeting between the two teams? How relevant is it? I know it won't be probably quite the same teams playing in this one, but it was 2-1 to Germany in the group stages.
Yeah, it was, and it wasn't the best of performances from England, but they've really grown into the tournament. You saw how they played in the quarterfinal against Spain and in the semi-final against the Dutch. I mean, they were outstanding. I mean, you look at the possession stats, and I'm not huge sort of obsessed with stats, but England's possession, they don't give the ball away. Important in this heat. Passing accuracy, outstanding, been growing. And, if you're going to pick an English player of the tournament, there are probably about 3 or 4 that you could choose from, whether it's Elliot Anderson, whether it is obviously Harvey Elliott the other night with his 2 goals, and Charlie Creswell, who's probably not on many people's radar, plays for Toulouse, and yet he's been outstanding at the back, and Tino Livramento as well. So, England have really grown into this tournament.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Harvey Elliott, because he's made all these noises about, he obviously wants to play, and it's hard at Liverpool, but he'd be a great signing for somebody, wouldn't he? Right up there at the top of the table.
Yeah, he must be one of the few sort of wide players who hasn't been linked with your club in the last sort of 10 minutes.
No, not right for us, but no, for Spurs or somebody like that, I think he'd be terrific.
Yeah, Spurs, I see he's been linked with Brighton. You could see him doing well there. But that's one of the good things about these tournaments is that it gives players like him and McAtee and Jarell Kwanzaa, maybe Tyler Morton, this opportunity to show what they can do. And if people are dismissive about the under-21s, I mean, I think it should be considered a competitive appearance, because you look at some of the teams and the players that they're up against, and you reference the the Spanish team in the past. I can remember when Juan Mata won the World Cup in 2010, then had this sort of humility to play for the under-21s the following year. So, and that sort of echoed with some of the other teams here. Obviously, they're not world champions, but look, some of the German players that England are going to be up against tomorrow night, they've all played, a lot of them have played senior level. So, yeah, they're absolutely showing their ability. In terms of Elliott, I think he needs to move on, because he's had 2 starts under Slot. He played a bit more under Klopp in terms of starting. He's been there 5-6 years since moving from Fulham. So he needs to move. I think McAtee as well, and fair play to him, because he could have gone to the Club World Cup and sat on the bench and sort of sweated without actually getting on the pitch. But he's come out here. He's led the team. He's not been one of England's top 3 players, but he's really impressed as a leader on and off the pitch, and his value will have gone up.
Be interesting to see Livramento, whether Tuchel sticks with Kyle Walker. Looked like a mad decision to me, whereas this boy seems to me the future.
I think it's a ridiculous decision with Kyle Walker, who'll be 36 when the World Cup takes place. I understand sort of Tuchel's attitude in terms of he wants leaders, but I think that's slightly dismissive of the younger generation. They lead in a sort of quieter, but still they've got that presence, that authoritative way. And remember, these are England. I mean, you know from your Chelsea experience that these are generations of young players who are coming through who are used to winning. whether it's under 16s, under 19s. When I was talking to Scott the other day, who played for the under 19s in the same stadium where they beat I think it was the Spanish. And, so they are used to winning. It's a generation that's not weighed down with all the sort of years of hurt that sort of, old people like me throw at them. They're a bonded generation who are used to winning. So, when you think of Tuchel, whether he's going to come tomorrow, I hope he does, maybe give one or two of them a chance. Livramento, as you say, he's played left back here, he's played right back here, he's done well in both positions. He's had, 20 minutes as a right back against the Irish under Carsley when he was interim manager. But, if you're going to go to a tournament, take a player like him because he can cover both sides.
Nagelsmann's definitely going to be there because he's got to come in from Mallorca, apparently. It's a longer trip for Tuchel, who's been in the States doing a bit of World Cup prep and watching players at the Club World Cup. But we don't definitely know whether he's coming. What have you heard? Have the FA said anything to you, Henry?
No, I think the plan is for, they're hoping if his schedule works out that he can make it here. I mean, look, his focus is on the is on the seniors, but I think there are at least two players here who you would hope to see in the September internationals, particularly in the first game against Andorra at Villa Park. I'd love to see Elliott given a run out as a number 6. I know he plays more as an 8 for Forest, and he had a slight dip towards the end of the season, as Forest did generally. But I think he's been outstanding here for England. And I think Livramento. I mean, we talk about the left backs. Obviously, there's Lewis Hall. Miles Lewis-Skelly has been outstanding. He's probably England's starting left back now. But, why not have a little look at Livramento? So there's definitely a good case for him coming here and assessing, what the players are like. But just on the Club World Cup, if he's found the right training base and if he's managed to have a chat with Jude Bellingham, then I think that is a very productive trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
We needed to have a chat with Jude.
I think he did in light of the chat with Adrian and Stuart Pearce. What about the Germans, Henry? You watched them in action. Who are the danger men for them? Where can they get at us?
Well, this 10'5" centre forward they've got, the German Peter Crouch Automata, who is, he's a definite threat. He's got 6 goals. Only Harvey Elliott comes close in this tournament with 4. He's not lightning fast, but because of his height. But then Charlie Cresswell, with his personality, his leadership skills, his enjoyment of a battle, as he calls it, in the physical sense, and his ability in the air, I think he'll be up for that challenge. We need the goalkeeper, James Beadle, to be decisive if he's going to come for crosses. I mean, he's tall. He's the size of the sort of the biggest Germans, to come and be decisive and clear it, because they will be a threat there. Knauf on the right as well. I mean, I've watched him a bit in this tournament as well, and he's dangerous. So it'll be interesting to see if Lee Carsley moves Tino Livramento to left back to deal with that danger. But then Hinchelwood's done really well. That flexibility, that versatility. I mean, people were saying it's not the best generation of England under 21s, missing so many players, 10, 11 eligible players. And yet, look at them. They're fighters. They've got great camaraderie. They're intelligent, and they're in the final.
Yeah. And finally, it's been a mad couple of years for Lee Carsley.
He does a great job at
wins the tournament, finds himself thrust into the limelight, which he probably wasn't completely comfortable with, has a little spell, goes back, and here he is in another final. But I mean, I think whatever you thought of him when he had that brief period in charge of the main team, he's done an incredible job with the 21s.
Well, I was critical of him, as everyone was, over the Greece game, where England didn't play with a number 9. They had 2 of them on the bench, Kane and Solanke. But look, he gave 8 young players debuts. He won 5 out of 6. He got England promoted back into League A of the Nations League, and he's a more experienced coach. He and Eddie Howe will definitely be in the frame to succeed Tuchel when England go out of the World Cup next summer.
Well, Henry, enjoy the game. I'm sure
I love that, when England go out. That's not like you.
I missed that. I should have been alive to that.
If.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, enjoy the game, Henry. Good to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Cheers, guys. Good weekend.
There's Henry Winter there out in Bratislava for the final tomorrow. Once again, Joe Shannon will be coming together with Darren Ambrose, former England under-21. They're our commentary team. And, a lot of eyes on that one. Should be a good competitive match, a chance to see some stars of the future. So that's us. We'll return on Monday to pick over the bones of that game and Club World Cup and all the other big talking points. There's bound to be huge transfer news, I'm sure. And the Lions. Lions first warm-up game tomorrow.
I'll be gripped to Wimbledon.
Yes, you'll be again with Nick Kyrgios joining us for a chat on Monday just as Wimbledon gets underway. Until then, have a great weekend. We'll catch up with you on Monday. And it is Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent next with Drive.